Chapter 481. Borrowing soldiers. The king of the Qinhuang kingdom sat in his study with a book in hand as he read it with interest. The sounds of Jian Chen entering the room startled him, causing him to turn his eyes away from his book. When he saw that it was Jian Chen that had disturbed him, he had a startled look on his face. Jian Chen's sudden arrival was not something he had expected. Slowly putting down the book in his hand, the king smiled. I hadn't imagined that the imperial protector would come pay me visit. Please take a seat. Jian Chen sat down right in front of the king, with a slightly surprised look. Despite it only being several days since I last saw your majesty, His Highness still looks as well as ever. Living to the age of 500 will be of no problem. Laughing, the king replied, as expected, I cannot hide anything from the imperial protector. Several days back, I used some heavenly resources and made a breakthrough with the help of a royal ancestor. Although I became stronger, it is still a far ways away from the imperial protector. The two sides began to talk for a little before Jian Chen finally spoke what was on his mind. Your Majesty, in truth, I came back for an important matter that requires the help of the Qinhuang kingdom. The king immediately realized that it had to be serious if Jian Chen would come running all the way back. Growing grim, he spoke. Speak what you need then. You are the imperial protector of our Qinhuang kingdom. With your status as such, whatever your issue is an issue of our Qinhuang kingdom too. I wish for an army division. A division of the elites. Jian Chen spoke. A single division of the army? What for? Is there a war happening? The king asked with surprise. Jian Chen nodded. Correct, there will be war. Afterward, Jian Chen explained just what had happened in the Jessen kingdom, much to the king's surprise. When he spoke of the destruction that had happened to his clan, the king carried a murderous air to him. After hearing Jian Chen's narration of the story, the king's face had an angry tint to it. Exploding with fury, he spoke. How preposterous. This heavenly eagle kingdom has been far too savage. Do they dare treat the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom as if he was nothing? Your Majesty, I must destroy the heavenly eagle kingdom. Thus, I require an elite division of soldiers and the use of the space gate to send them to the Jessen kingdom. I will upfront the costs of the monster cores. Jian Chen spoke. Hearing this, the king hesitated for a moment. Jian Chen, your authority allows you to command a division of 1,000,000 at will without needing to report to anyone. However, we should talk about this matter once more tomorrow. That is fine. I will await His Majesty tomorrow. Jian Chen didn't mince any words and left straight away. Some time after Jian Chen had left, the king sat there with his eyebrows narrowed together deep in thought. Then, after putting his book back into its original spot, he left the study. After Jian Chen left the king's study, he left for the Qin Heaven Palace. From far away, Jian Chen could already see several guards standing right by the palace, as if they were stone. The Qin Heaven Palace belonged to Jian Chen, since he was an imperial protector. Although he wasn't there, the guards wouldn't slack off. Day and night, multiple guards could be seen stationed there, and many more would patrol the area during the daytime. We pay our respects to the imperial protector. Naturally, when Jian Chen came walking into the Qin Heaven Palace, all of the guards there knelt down in subservience. With the tiger cub in hand, Jian Chen strode into the palace. The guards opened the palace doors for him, so he wouldn't have to do so himself, before gingerly closing it after he entered. These girl pays our respects to the imperial protector. As soon as Jian Chen entered the Qin Heaven Palace, several outstanding beauties immediately stooped forward in salute. They were the maids of the Qin Heaven Palace, who stayed within the palace, even if Jian Chen wasn't there. You may leave to do your own thing, don't mind me. Jian Chen spoke, before returning to his personal bedroom. Gently putting the tiger cub on the bed, Jian Chen sat by his table, and began to think. He knew that using the space gate to transport an army would require a huge sum of Class 5 monster cores. But he had killed many Heaven Saint Masters, and obtained plenty of Class 5 and Class 6 monster cores from their space rings. In total, it had been a plentiful harvest of Class 5 monster cores, and there were a decent amount of Class 6 monster cores now. Right now, Jian Chen was thinking about just how many people could be transported, although it didn't need to be a large number. Their strength had to be high enough in order for them to destroy the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom without the help of the Jessen Kingdom, while also inspiring fear. Honored Imperial Protector, please have some tea. A maid came bearing tea and placed it right in front of Jianshan. As soon as Jianshan finished his tea, a single guard could be heard from outside his room. I've a report for the Honored Imperial Protector. The third prince seeks an audience. Upon hearing Qinji's arrival, Jianshan immediately went out to greet him in person. As the two met, Qinji smiled. Jianshan, it really is you. I heard people shouting for the Imperial Protector, so I guessed it was you. I didn't think that my guess would be right. Laughing, Jianshan replied, Come in then, let's not stand out here. The two walked into the Qin Heaven Palace and sat right in front of a table. Straight away, Qinji spoke. Jianshan, I didn't think that you would return that fast. Did you take care of everything with your family? You can stay here for a while longer then. Jianshan shook his head. As soon as one wave ceases, another wave of trouble comes forth. I came here to borrow an army. Borrow an army? Qinji was startled. Is the enemy that strong if Xiao Tian and the others weren't enough to keep the peace? The imperial advisors of our Qinhuang Kingdom are selected carefully. Xiao Tian and the other four are strong enough to fight enemies 2-1. Afterward, Jianshan relayed the story to Qinji. As soon as the story ended, Qinji exploded with a furious snarl. That Heavenly Eagle Kingdom is far too much. They should truly be exterminated. But Jianshan, to transport an entire division through a space gate, would require the usage of plenty of monster cores. I think that you should bring some imperial advisors with you. With them helping you exterminate the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, they won't even exist in name. Jianshan shook his head. Qinji's way of thinking was far too simplistic. If it was just a matter of extinguishing the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, Xiao Tian's group and Jianshan would be enough to complete the task. All it would require is some energy, that's all. The reason why he had run all the way here to borrow an army and use so many monster cores to transport them was for a different reason that was not as simplistic. Qinji, what is your general estimation for how many monster cores I'll need to transport an entire division? Jianshan asked. A space gate uses 6 monster cores for a single-time use. I presume you understand that a space gate requires a steady stream of energy to power it. If people can cross into the space gate fast enough, then 6 Class 5 monster cores should be enough for about 600 people. Having said that, this equates to a single Class 5 monster core being enough to allow 100 people entry. Do you understand the terrifying costs of how much energy is needed now? A Class 5 monster core can send 100 people. Then that means 100 Class 5 monster cores could send 10,000 people. What a hefty cost. Jianshan muttered. Correct, I suggest you give up on such a thought. Class 5 monster cores aren't so easily found as Class 2 or Class 3 monster cores. 100 Class 5 monster cores can only send 10,000 people. That is a number too small and isn't practical. Bring several strong experts instead. Jianshan smiled. Although the cost is large, it isn't beyond my expectations. Qinji was stunned. Looking at Jianshan with suspicion, he spoke. Jianshan, just how many Class 5 monster cores do you have, you little devil? What is a single Class 6 monster core in comparison to a Class 5 monster core? Jianshan answered him without really answering the question. Qinji thought about it for a moment before saying, a Class 6 monster core is extremely rare. Only Heaven Saint Masters are able to kill the monsters with one, and those are still rare to come by. All of the Class 6 magical beasts are centered within the depths of Cross Mountain. Barely any roam outside of it, and that area is a forbidden area for us humans. Whichever Heaven Saint Master that entered the Cross Mountains before had all died. So Class 6 monster cores from there are hard to come by. But their price as a result are 100 to 1,000 times more expensive than a Class 5 monster core. If you have a Class 6 monster core, then I wouldn't be able to make certain of the exact number. I'd imagine that it would be the same as using several hundred Class 5 monster cores. If people hurry, then it could possibly be equivalent to 1,000 Class 5 monster cores. If the Class 5 monster cores aren't enough, then I'll use Class 6 monster cores then. Jianshan muttered. On the second day, Jian Chen found the king, and once more began to talk of yesterday's request. This time, the king had a smile on his face. Jian Chen, I spoke with the royal ancestor yesterday. He has told me that our Qinhuang kingdom will give you the monster cores needed to transport 1,000,000 soldiers. If more are needed, it will be up to you to make up for the deficit. Hearing this, Jian Chen was overjoyed. These words of the king would mean that Jian Chen would be able to save plenty of monster cores. I thank His Majesty for his generosity. Jian Chen accepted the offer right away. The king laughed merrily. Our Qinhuang kingdom has 5 divisions, each one of them being elite trained soldiers. Each division has 2,000,000 soldiers. 4 divisions are located within each of the 4 strongholds. The final division is located here at the imperial city, named the Eastern Deity Swords. They are tasked with the important mission of protecting the imperial city. Jian Chen, if you wish for a large division, then take some from the Eastern Deity Swords. Chapter 482, 500,000 strong army. That's fine then, there's no time to lose. I will need a division of 500,000. Jian Chen spoke impatiently. 500,000 should be more than enough. The king smiled. Jian Chen, transferring the soldiers to you doesn't require me to personally come with you to transfer them. I will send a decree to the Eastern Deity Swords, and have them send their strongest 500,000 with you. However, the transferring of that many troops will not be so quick. It will require some time. Jian Chen nodded. That will be fine, I will wait for the news then. After the business talks were done, Jian Chen relayed the Dazhou Kingdom's desire of an alliance with the Qinhuang Kingdom to the king. He had promised the Dazhou Kingdom that he would deliver the message, but whether or not the 2 kingdoms would really work toward an alliance was of no concern to him. Giving several more moments of small talk, Jian Chen finally left the king's palace and returned to his own Qin Heaven Palace. Afterward he called out to one of the maids, I will be cultivating for a while. Notify the rest that I am not to be disturbed. I will not meet anyone before then, and I will not have anyone try to. This servant understands. The maid replied respectfully before bowing out to inform everyone. Jian Chen sat on his bed and exhaled slowly. Then taking the skeleton of the Saint Ruler out from his space ring, he began to inspect it slowly. The Saint Ruler's skeleton was about 2 meters in height, and looked quite sturdy. Just from looking at the skeleton, one would know that the person had to have been quite sturdy when he was alive. The bones were snowy white, and were nearly transparent, with a resplendent light emanating from them, that made them seem like a precious treasure. On the skeleton itself was a faint movement of light, that seemed as if there was mercury flowing over it. This was the second time Jian Chen had seen a Saint Ruler's skeleton, but the situation was different than from the first time. Perhaps it was because his strength was equivalent to a Heaven Saint Master, but he was clearly able to feel the distinct energy within the skeleton's bones. The energy within was like a vast ocean of water. Exhaling, Jian Chen slowly calmed down and closed his eyes. Then, communicating with the 2 sword spirits, he thought, Ziying Qingsua, could you help me convert the Saint Ruler's skeleton into chaotic force? Yes, Master. Ziying and Qingsua both answered without hesitation, and moved in coordination. From Jian Chen's hand came 2 glows of light, separating to form a male in violet robes, and a female in azure robes. The male was handsome, and the female was beautiful in a way that made them both seem like a pair of immortals married to each other. Ziying and Qingsua both held their hands up, causing the skeleton to fly up in between them, through the use of some sort of hidden force. Ziying and Qingsua extended both arms now. A wave of azure and violet light wafted from them, and enveloped the Saint Ruler's skeleton. The process of converting the skeleton was quite fast. After 4 hours or so, a gray-colored energy began to waft from the Saint Ruler's skeleton into Jian Chen's body, to where his dantian was. Master, use the Azulate Sword laws to refine the chaotic force. Ziying's voice could be heard within Jian Chen's mind before his person disappeared from Jian Chen's sight. As prompted, Jian Chen made use of the next 4 hours in order to refine the chaotic force into a force he could use. Following that, Jian Chen immediately looked within himself where a wall scroll suddenly appeared within his mind. In his dantian were two black-colored energies that slowly floated about with a presence that would quicken the heartbeat of anyone that felt it. Last time, Jianshen had been able to use the two ruler armaments to convert them into chaotic force. With one strand, he was able to strengthen his body, while the other had been kept in reserve. With this Saint Ruler skeleton, he now had two strands of it. Seeing the two gray-colored wisps of energy in his dantian, Jianshen hesitated for a moment before asking, "If I were to use the chaotic force to strengthen my body, would that be a problem?" The last time, Jianshen had done so recklessly and caused his entire body to curl up in pain to the point where he was barely able to withstand it. "There won't be a problem now, Master. You may use the chaotic force without a problem. Although it may hurt, it won't be as bad as before." The one who spoke was Qingsua with a melodic voice that was pleasant to hear. "That's fine then." Jianshen let loose a breath of air, as he felt his heart ease up a little. Straight away, he began to use the chaotic force to temper his body. As the chaotic force coursed through his body, Jianshen didn't feel as strong of a pain as before. Right now, the chaotic force was no longer destroying his body as it passed. Although there was still pain, it was well within Jianshen's tolerance levels. It was just as Ziying said, Jianshen would be able to withstand this. The chaotic force continued to slowly travel through his body, while Jianshen could feel his body strengthening at incredible speeds. His meridians, muscles all felt a noticeable improvement. Jianshen's body made a single great leap in strength after the chaotic force completed a single circuit. He could distinctly feel that his body was far better than before, and the chaotic force had only used up a third of itself. Without stopping, Jianshen continued to make use of the chaotic force to strengthen his body. After the third revolution, the strand of chaotic force had finally been used up completely. Jianshen opened his eyes and nimbly leaped from his bed, both feet planted squarely on the ground as he measured himself up and felt around his body. To his senses, he felt that he was many times stronger than before. Although his body was still flexible and firm, its defensive capabilities were many times stronger. "Ziying, Qingsua, with my current body strength, will I be able to make use of the chaotic force?" Jianshen asked. "You cannot, Master. While your body has indeed improved by a decent amount, it is still a far ways away from being able to use it. Master will need to use the chaotic force several more times before the minimum requirement is reached. But even then, Master would only be able to use an impure version of the chaotic force." Jianshen sighed to himself. It seemed that even after successfully using the chaotic force, he would still not be able to use it. If it's like that, then leaving the other strand of chaotic force in my dantian is useless. I may as well use it to refine myself again to increase my body's strength. With that, Jianshen sat back down and began to use the last strand of chaotic force to strengthen his body. After the second strand had been used up, it was already late in the afternoon. As soon as his consciousness returned to his body, Jianshen could sense a maid standing quietly outside the door. Getting off the bed, Jianshen inspected himself with a joyous expression after seeing the results. "With my current body strength, even a peak Great Saint Master won't constitute as a threat to me. If things go on like this, then perhaps there will be a day where even Heaven Saint Masters will be unable to harm me." Although being unable to use the chaotic force was a great shame, the strength it had given his body was a thing to truly be happy about. Jianshen happily walked out from his room, only to see the maid that was outside his room salute him. "A report for the honored Imperial Protector. The generals of the Eastern Deity Swords are here to seek an audience." A light in Jianshen's eyes sparkled. "Let them in." Yes. Not too long after, 3 armored generals came walking in from the outside. All 3 men had staunch expressions. One of them looked to be 60 years old, while the other 2 were around 40 years old. All of them wore white armor and radiated a powerful aura that screamed for blood. "We pay our respects to the Imperial Protector." The 3 men saluted Jianshen. "3 generals, please rise. What shall I call you by?" Jianshen smiled kindly. "General Qin Wuming, Vice Commander-in-Chief of the Eastern Deity Swords." The elder spoke first. Then, The two middle-aged men by his side revealed their names as well. General Qin Wutian, military governor of the Eastern Deity Swords. General Qin Wujian, military governor of the Eastern Deity Swords. 3 generals. I presume His Majesty has already explained the situation to you? Jianchen smiled, but inwardly he was surprised. All 3 of them had the same surname. Were they all related to the royal family? The vice commander-in-chief of the Eastern Deity Swords nodded. Honored Imperial Protector, His Majesty has already explained everything. 500,000 soldiers from the Eastern Deity Swords have already arrived here from the Imperial City. As long as the order is given, we 3 father and sons will aid the Imperial Protector in any way, and head through the space gate to the Jesson Kingdom. Jianchen displayed a surprised look on his face. He hadn't thought that the 3 were father and sons. From their appearances, there was no differences between them. When he used his presence to measure their strength, he noticed that they had not bothered to hide their strengths. They were plain to see, and Jianchen realized that all 3 of them were Heaven Saint Masters. The eldest, Qin Wuming, was a 3rd cycle Heaven Saint Master, while the other 2 were 1st cycle Heaven Saint Masters. Jianchen cupped his hands together. Then I will be bothering you 3 to follow me on a trip. If everyone is ready, we will make our preparations to leave now. Yes. Chapter 483. Arrival of the army. Jianchen and the 3 generals of the Eastern Deity Sword left the Qin Heaven Palace at once. The 3 generals parted ways with Jianchen so that he could bid farewell to Qin Ji at the Flowing Cloud Palace, while the generals would rally the army. Arriving at the Flowing Cloud Palace, the guards outside gave a respectful salute to Jianchen, without concealing the admiration they had for him, and allowed him entry. Just as Jianchen walked past several guards, one of them immediately called out, "The honored Imperial Protector has arrived." This was meant for Qin Ji to hear. With Jianchen's superb identity, his status was different than what it was from before. To the guards, the status of being an Imperial Protector was more than enough to see Qin Ji. If Qin Ji did not come out to greet the Imperial Protector personally, then that would be a rude gesture. Sure enough, as soon as the guard's voice stopped, Qin Ji could be seen hurrying out from his palace room. Although he and Jianchen were very close, Jianchen's status was so high that Qin Ji didn't dare be rude to him. Haha, Jianchen, what winds are blowing today for you to come visit me? If you needed something, a message would be enough to suffice. Qin Ji laughed. Seeing that Jianchen had personally came to find him had caused him to feel proud and delighted. I came to say goodbye for now. Jianchen smiled faintly as he spoke. Leaving so soon? Why not stay for a while? Qin Ji was rather reluctant to see Jianchen leave so soon. Jianchen had an apologetic look on his face. I have matters to attend to at home, and so I must leave now. I am afraid that something may happen back home. Hearing this, Qin Ji had a silent look on his face, as his eyebrows narrowed together in concern. Then, as if he had made up his mind, Qin Ji looked to Jianchen with bright eyes. Jianchen, allow me to come with you. What? Jianchen looked at him in surprise. You wish to come to the Jesson Kingdom with me? Qin Ji smiled and joked. I do. Do you not wish for me to? You've come to my homelands. Am I not able to come to your homelands to take a look? Jianchen smiled and put his hand onto Qin Ji's shoulder. I have no qualms with that. How could I not? You've welcomed me into your home. Naturally, I have no doubts my family would be happy to receive you. Then all is well. I was worried whether or not your family would welcome me. Let's go then off to your home. I have nothing to bring with. Everything is already in my space ring. With that, Qin Ji left the palace with Jianchen. Jianchen and Qin Ji both walked from the palace and headed for the space gate. From far away, the both of them could see a squadron of silver-robed soldiers lined up right in front of the palace. Each one stood in a uniform position, without a single soldier out of place. Their footsteps on the ground resonated with a rumbling sound, like a bolt of lightning crashing to the ground. Despite the monotonous sounds, the entire division leaked an elite aura and killing potential that soared into the sky. This was a testament to the fact that each and every single one of these soldiers had been tempered by the struggles of life and death. Each one of their hands were soaked in blood to rise up to the cream of the crop. These are the Eastern deity swords? They are well deserved of being called the division of the elites in the Qinhuang kingdom. Even the Jessan kingdom has only 3,000 people in its black armors division. At the sight of this, Jianchen couldn't help but nod his head in approval. The Eastern deity swords are one of the 5 elite divisions in our Qinhuang kingdom. In total, there is 2 million of them. Each soldier capable of entering the Eastern deity swords is selected very carefully from the best of the best. Then, they are thrown to the borders of the Cross Mountains as a test of discipline to slaughter their way through the numerous magical beasts. Thus, each soldier in the Eastern deity swords has encountered many battles of life and death. In the Tianyuan continent, only the elite divisions of the 3 great empires would be able to compare. Qin Ji explained with a prideful look. Truly a powerful army. If these 500,000 soldiers were to be in my homelands, then they would be able to eliminate any neighboring nation with ease. Jianchen sighed in admiration. Qin Ji laughed. Eliminating a single kingdom would be nothing. These soldiers would be capable of destroying several kingdoms with ease. Our Qinhuang kingdom provides over 200 human-tier battle skills and 50 earth-tier battle skills for the soldiers in any of the elite divisions to learn. Thus, any soldier in any of the 5 divisions are capable of at least 1 battle skill. Such a strength like this couldn't compare to any smaller nation. Hearing this, Jianchen was shocked in his heart. Battle skills in the Tianyuan continent were extremely precious. Even if someone had one, they would not share it. Even the Jessan kingdom hadn't provided any of the black armors with a battle skill for free. Each one of them had to have a sufficient amount of strength and meritorious service before they could gain access to one. But the Qinhuang kingdom didn't even have to think about it to allow any one of the soldiers to learn from 200 human-tier battle skills and 50 earth-tier battle skills without charge. This was not a simple case of being rich. It is no wonder the Qinhuang kingdom is one of the 8 great empires. I cannot even fathom how strong the Qinhuang kingdom is. Jianchen sighed as he re-evaluated the strength of the Qinhuang kingdom. Quickly, Jianchen and Qin Ji both arrived in front of the space gate, where the king of the Qinhuang kingdom was waiting for him along with 5 other elders. Imperial Protector. This king was worried that 500,000 soldiers wouldn't be enough, so I consulted with several imperial advisors and 5 of them agreed to come with you to wipe out the enemy nation. Allow me to introduce you to these 5. This is Su Ri, Hao Yun, Riber, Jati Liar and Jati Kaijing. As the king introduced them, each person moved toward Jianchen. We pay our respects to the Imperial Protector. After the king's introduction, the 5 elders bowed to Jianchen respectfully. You 5 imperial advisors need not to be so polite. I, Jianchen, truly appreciate your assistance. Jianchen smiled politely and accepted the assistance of the 5. If he had these Heaven Saint Masters return with him, then it would prevent the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom from asking others for assistance. Although there were very few nations that would stand against the Qinhuang Kingdom, they would not want to protect another kingdom from them. By this point, Qin Wuming had already led the Eastern deity swords to the area where the space gate was. Without delay, Jianchen handed the crystal Chao Kachin had given him along with a map of the Jessan kingdom to the imperial advisor in charge of the space gate there. The imperial advisor in charge of the space gate took the map from Jianchen's hand and placed the crystal over the map. Then, he placed 4 Class 5 monster cores to supply enough energy for the array to activate. Slowly, the array on the ground began to light up and form a chaotic space within the gates. After some time, the space within the gates finally began to form a clear picture. Under Jianchen's watchful eye, he could see that this spot was the exact position where Chao Kachin had placed the other crystal. Jianchen could even see the faraway city walls of Lore City. Yes, this is the area, let's go. Jianchen answered. Then crossing over through the space gate, he went from the Qinhuang kingdom to Lore City faster than the blink of an eye. After crossing the space gate, Jianchen looked to the faraway Lore City, only to see it as it originally was. A countless stream of people could be seen going in and out without worry or panic. At this sight, Jianchen sighed in relief. It appeared that nothing had happened during the time he had left. Jianchen, is this your homeland? Qin Ji walked through the space gate and followed behind Jianchen with a curious glance at the city. Correct, my family is in that city. Jianchen nodded. Soon, the three generals of the Eastern Deity swords came out from the space gate, with the white-armored Eastern Deity sword soldiers filing out after them. As the men walked past the space gate, each one of them looked around the place with a curious glance. They were all curious of what type of place the Imperial Protector came from. Imperial Protector, where should our division set up a base? Qin Wuming asked Jianchen. Jianchen looked around the area as he considered the question. It's quite limited within the city. Fitting 500,000 soldiers would be far too hard. Since this area is spacious enough, let us set up camp here. Yes, Qin Wuming cupped his hands together before running to command the soldiers, who had already crossed the space gate. Not too long after, hundreds of soldiers stood in the area, and under the command of General Qin Wuming, they spread out so that there would be enough room for the rest of the soldiers. Jianchen stood not too far away from the space gate and watched the soldiers appear from the other side. Qin Ji, how long do you think it'll take for all the soldiers to arrive here? Qin Ji watched the space gate for a moment before swiftly making several calculations in his head. With this speed, it should take 2 hours for 30,000 soldiers to arrive. With 24 hours in a day, we should be able to have 360,000 soldiers. So that means a day and a half will be what it takes. Jianchen nodded his head and stood there calmly, watching the Eastern Deity sword soldiers tread out from the space gate in an unending stream. A grand feeling welled within Jianchen. Within Lore City, one of the head guards was casually reading a book within his study when several soldiers came running in. Kneeling, they spoke. A report for the officer. A large group of unknowns have appeared 10 kilometers away from the city. Each one of them is wearing armor, meaning they are an army of some sort. However, their numbers keep increasing, and they are already within the thousands. Hearing this, the captain's face was shocked. Immediately throwing down his book, he ran out of his study. The matter between the Jessin Kingdom and the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was no secret, and had already made its way around the entire Jessin Kingdom. So when thousands of soldiers suddenly appeared, the captain's heart immediately grew unsteady. Chapter 484. To War 1. The captain surveyed the scene from above the city walls only to see that 10 kilometers away, a large group of people could be seen. Despite the distance, he could see that all of the soldiers were wearing silver-white armor. Where did they come from? The captain asked. We don't know, it's like they appeared out of thin air. Even now, even more people are joining them. One of the other vice-captains spoke in terror. The captain hesitated from his spot on the walls for a brief moment, as he watched even more soldiers join with the already large amount of soldiers. The perimeter they were in continued to expand without a misstep at all. There was an order to each and every one of them, so it could be seen that they were all extremely disciplined. By this point, plenty of people in Lore City had discovered this group of soldiers. It was not limited to only soldiers, but even the merchants and mercenaries who were entering and leaving the city had noticed their existence. Some of the more courageous mercenaries couldn't help but feel curious, and rode on a mount toward the area. The captain had a grim expression on his face, as he stared at the mercenaries moving closer to the soldiers. He wanted to use them in order to determine whether these soldiers were friends or foe. If they were enemies, then these mercenaries would not be able to survive. As an added bonus, he wouldn't need to expend any forces that could potentially die. Quickly, several hundred mercenaries got close to the Eastern Deity, swords from the Qinhuang Kingdom. When they drew closer, the soldiers immediately blocked their path, so they wouldn't be able to get any closer, or be able to see just what was happening inside. The chi and killing intent these soldiers were exuding was extremely potent, and displayed their strengths on an incredible level. Their bloodthirsty aura alone was enough to show that they were a powerful army. The nature of the Eastern Deity swords was intense, and their explosive auras was enough to cause the mercenaries to shrink back in defeat. Who are you? One of the more brave mercenaries asked, prompting several of the soldiers to glare at him icily. Turning pale, The mercenary took several involuntary steps away. With their eyes, he felt as if he had been staring at the eyes of a dangerous magical beast. With such pressure, he did not have the courage to continue talking to them. When the captain saw that the soldiers had not started to fight, he let out a sigh in relief. Knowing that they were not enemies, he called out to the people next to him. "Report to the city lord and the Changyang clan. Tell them what has happened here." "Yes." The soldier immediately ran off. Afterward, the captain led a group of 500 soldiers away from Lore City to see the situation for himself. When the captain got within 50 meters of the concentration of soldiers, he dismounted from his magical beast mount and strode forward with his head held high. However, when he drew close to the soldiers, several icy glares concentrated on him and brought forth an indomitable amount of pressure. Blanching for a moment, the captain steeled his heart while hiding his shock. As an Earth Saint Master, he was somehow pressured by these soldiers. This was very surprising to him. "Sires, I am the head guard of Lore City, Tu Fu. Where might your group come from?" The captain cupped his hands together in respect, but the soldiers only looked at him coldly, without giving a response. Tu Fu displayed an embarrassed look on his face. He had been intimidated by the awesome might these soldiers were exuding. In his heart, he didn't feel any displeasure. He soon turned his eyes away to look for anyone within the crowd, but he was only able to see a third of the entire forces. Even then, he wasn't able to find anyone of importance. Without the ability to fly, he wouldn't be able to differentiate anyone from the crowd. Plus, with the people constantly moving about, any newcomer wouldn't even be noticed as they expanded. Just who are these people, and where are they coming from? Could it be there is some sort of secret passage? The captain inferred to himself. However, when he felt that no hostility could be felt from the soldiers, they most likely weren't enemies. Otherwise, these soldiers would have charged straight for the city and razed it at once. At that moment, the captain suddenly saw the soldiers start to make a 3-meter path for a few men to walk through the crowd of soldiers. At this point, the captain's face had straightened. He had to guess that these men were the leaders of these soldiers, and immediately grew serious. The two youths walking in front looked to be around 20 years old with auras that were by no means ordinary. When the captain saw Jian Chun, his heart skipped a beat, and immediately went to salute him. Tu Fu pays his respect to the fourth master. Although very few men knew what Jian Chun looked like, Tu Fu was one of the few that did. So when his eyes landed upon Jian Chun, he immediately went to salute him. Jian Chun arrived right in front of Tu Fu and spoke. "Officer Tu Fu, take your men and go back. You needn't bother yourself with the matters here. This officer will do as instructed." Tu Fu cupped his hands before giving an order to the people behind him. With Jian Chun's status as an imperial protector of the Jessen Kingdom, he had full authority to command the commanding officer of Lore City. "Let us head into the city." Jian Chun spoke to the people behind him, before bringing Qin Ji into the air, and headed toward Lore City. Right behind him, the 5 imperial advisors and 3 generals immediately surrounded themselves with the elements of the world, and flew up into the air after Jian Chun. Tu Fu hadn't even gotten far away from the soldiers when he saw the sight. Much to his shock, both of his eyes grew wide as he cried out, "Dear heavens! They're there! They're all Heaven Saint Masters!" Seeing Jian Chun and the others fly into the sky, it took Tu Fu a long period of time to regain his wits. Letting out a long breath of air to quench the surprise in his heart, he muttered to himself in a daze, "The fourth master of the Changyang clan is amazing. I have no idea just how he was able to bring so many Heaven Saint Masters over." As Jian Chun disappeared into the sky, Tu Fu had a look of admiration on his face. Jian Chun and the group's flight was quick. Not too long later, they arrived in the sky above the Changyang clan, where a large group of people could be seen staring slack-jawed as the group descended. As soon as they descended, 5 incredibly strong sources of qi could be felt shooting toward them. Chang Wuji, Chao Kachin, Dongyi Junbai, Tian Luo, and Qing Xiaofan came flying past with their presences radiating into the sky. The arrival of several Heaven Saint Masters had startled them, and they had thought that the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had come by once more. Thus, They radiated a strong amount of presence in hopes of intimidating the other party. However, when they saw the man in front of them was Jian Chun, they let loose a joyful expression and instantly cut down their spike in qi. Imperial Protector! Qing Xiaofan and the others cried out as Jian Chun arrived with their hands cupped together. Chang Wuji stood by the side with a surprised expression at the people by Jian Chun's side. His heart had been sent in a flux, but was quickly turning into a gratified smile. I had no idea that in the few days that the fourth master was gone, he would bring back 8 Heaven Saint Masters. Chang Wuji thought to himself happily. With the fourth master having such capabilities, Chang Wuji could already see him leading the Changyang clan into a future with meteoric success. What has happened in the 2 days I was gone? Has there been any news from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom? Jian Chun asked calmly. Everything has been the same. We aren't sure what is happening within the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, but no individual has come over to start any trouble yet. All of the Heaven Saint Masters are now aware that His Majesty had nearly been kidnapped, and now the strongest 3 have gathered within the palace. Combined with the original individual there, the Imperial Palace has 4 Heaven Saint Masters there. Xiao Tian is there as well to make 5. So only Lore City was in need of strength, so I returned to safeguard the place, Qing Xiaofan spoke. Good. Jian Chun nodded his head in satisfaction before turning to Chang Wuji. Uncle Chang, this is my brother, the 3rd prince of the Qinhuang Kingdom, Qinji. These 5 are the imperial advisors of the Qinhuang Kingdom, and these 3 right here are the generals of the Qinhuang Kingdom's strongest division, the Eastern Deity Swords. The 9 of them have agreed to come from the Qinhuang Kingdom to help deal with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Daring not to be negligent, Chang Wuji addressed each one of them with several words of greeting. Then, Chang Wuji began to invite every single one of them into a nearby inn with excitement. When Changyang Ba gained wind of the news, he knew that this was an undeniably tremendous event for the Changyang clan and the Jessen Kingdom. He couldn't afford to do nothing, so he immediately called out for the inn to prepare the most luxurious, grandest feast to receive the newcomers. Since these newcomers were the imperial advisors, generals and prince of the Qinhuang Kingdom, their statuses made many of the elders in the Changyang clan feel weak in the knees. Thus, the amount of people qualified to join in on this banquet had not been many. Aside from Chang Wuji, only Jian Chun and his immediate family had been able to join. Since Princess Yu was Jian Chun's future bride, she had been given a seat. Ming Dong and De Gufeng both had unique statuses as well, and were given spots as well. The 10 imperial advisors, 3 generals, and the prince shared the same table as Changyang Ba, by Yintian, Chang Wuji and several others. Because the imperial advisors had been forewarned of the relationship between the imperial protector and Changyang Ba, the 5 imperial advisors and generals were extremely courteous to the father and mother of Jian Chun. At another table, Jian Chun, Ming Dong, De Gufeng, Yu, Qin Ji and several others were chatting among each other. The majority of them knew each other from the gathering of mercenaries, so they were well acquainted with one another, and happy to meet once more. Just as everyone was chatting to each other over some wine, both the city lord and the Changyang clan gained a report of the sudden appearance of an army just outside Lore City. The report was given to the elders of the Changyang clan first, but they already knew of the finer details and couldn't help but smile without a care in the world. However, the city lord was not as calm as the elders were. Throwing down the report, he brought several divisions of his army to rush on out. As the city lord stood on top of the walls of Lore City, the amount of soldiers 10 kilometers away had already swelled to 20,000. Several groups began to hoist their banners into the air, where the large character for Qin could be seen. Seeing the Qin character on the banners, the city lord's eyes flashed with recognition. An indescribable feeling overwhelmed his thoughts. Could they be an army from the Qinhuang Kingdom? Chapter 485. To War 2. Impossible, this can't be the army of the Qinhuang Kingdom. The Qinhuang Kingdom is too far away from the Jessen Kingdom. Just how would they be able to appear right outside our Lore City so suddenly? The ruler of Lore City asked as he tried to understand this unrealistic scene in front of him. My lord, The captain Tu Fu arrived by the ruler's side. Tu Fu, just where did this group come from? Are they enemies, or are they friends? Is there some sort of secret passageway I'm not aware of over in that location? The city lord's eyes stared at the scene in front of him, as he spoke softly to Tu Fu. My lord, this general knows not where the group has come from, but I was able to confirm they are friends rather than foes due to the fact that the fourth master from the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian, came with them. Furthermore, at this point, Tu Fu's voice suddenly stopped as his face took on a look of shock. The city lord's eyes turned to look at Tu Fu and questioned. Furthermore, Tu Fu let out a long breath of air before steeling himself. Furthermore, 9 Heaven Saint Masters came with the fourth master. From their faces, they are not from our Jesson kingdom. Qin Ji had been carried into the air by Jian Chen. But Tu Fu hadn't been paying close attention, so he had mistaken Qin Ji as a Heaven Saint Master. What? 9 Heaven Saint Masters? The city lord was in shock and utter disbelief. 9 Heaven Saint Masters may not be much for the Qinhuang kingdom, but for them to send so many to such a faraway kingdom was to send an unbelievable amount of military might beyond what most would believe. Even in the golden age of the Jesson kingdom, they had only 11 Heaven Saint Masters to their name. I must go to the Changyang clan right away to see the situation for myself. Without delay, the lord ran down from the walls and mounted his horse to ride off toward the Changyang clan. When the lord arrived, he was received by a high-ranking elder of the Changyang clan. Changyang Qing, you and I have known each other for years. Would it be possible for you to tell me the identities of the newly arrived Heaven Saint Masters in your clan? The lord smiled mischievously at the elder. The elder gave a faint smile and replied, if the city lord knows that much, then telling you won't hurt. They are all from the Qinhuang kingdom. There are a total of 9 that came, one of them being the prince of the Qinhuang kingdom. There are 3 generals, while the remaining 5 are imperial advisors. The city lord's face grew sluggish from such information. At this moment, his heart started to race at an incredible speed. The fact that so many Heaven Saint Masters were congregated together in Lore City astounded him, to the point of utter disbelief. Each one of the Heaven Saint Masters had a majestic status. If they were not a prince, then they were a general or imperial advisor. If these people were placed within the Jesson kingdom, the amount of pressure they held could kill a person just by standing there. At this moment, with so many high-ranking people in Lore City, the city lord felt a sense of terror. Now that he had finished making inquiries, the city lord didn't choose to stay within the area and left. This time, with so many high-ranking officials of the Qinhuang kingdom, the city lord didn't feel that he held the rights to see them. Back within his mansion, the lord of Lore City immediately went to his study. Not long afterward, a single Class 2 lightning bird flew out from his study with a letter that shot toward the imperial palace of the Jesson kingdom. After the feast had ended, the 5 imperial advisors and 3 generals were led by Chang Wuji to their rooms, while Qin Ji was led by Jian Chen. The graceful Bai Yuntian walked up to Jian Chen with a loving look on her face as she spoke. Xiang'er, your mother has some matter she needs to take care of. Receive the guest as well as you can without delay, understood? Bai Yuntian smiled. Happiness had long since returned to her. Jian Chen's return had brought so much joy to her heart that practically every single member of the Changyang clan could see that her mood had taken a complete turn. Gradually, she had reverted back to the proper fourth lady of the Changyang clan. Mother, go and do what you need to do. Your son knows what to do. In front of his mother Bai Yuntian, Jian Chen was like an obedient child. Seeing this for the first time, Qin Ji was slack-jawed at the sight. It was almost as if the Jian Chen in front of him was a completely different person. After Bai Yuntian had left, Jian Chen brought Ming Dong, Qin Ji, and the others away from the inn, toward the reconstruction of the Changyang clan. The construction was moving at a nice pace with about 1,000 artisans working day and night to rebuild it. All sorts of high-grade materials were brought in an endless stream as well, transforming the ruins of the clan into something grand in several days. The rebuilt Changyang clan wasn't going to have any major changes, but the range of area it would cover would be expanded twice over while a road would go around it. Qin looked all around the reconstructing Changyang clan before asking, Jianchen, is this your home? Jianchen nodded. Yes, this is my home. But a few days ago, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom destroyed it. How hateful the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom is, they cannot be forgiven for this. Jianchen, how do you plan on dealing with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom? Qin spoke with an especially grim expression. Wait until the Eastern deity swords fully ensemble. Then we will march to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Jianchen spoke, without a second consideration. Changyang Xiangtian, I hope you will notify my father of this matter. The princess suddenly spoke by Jianchen's side. In her eyes, a small amount of bitterness could be seen. Haha, Princess you needn't worry. I've already notified His Majesty. I am sure His Majesty will be coming over soon enough. Jianchen smiled. The princess quirked her lips as she gave an unhappy look to Jianchen. After a while of silence, she spoke up once more. Changyang Xiangtian, let me go with you to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The princess knew that Jianchen was the main pillar of the group. As long as he agreed, even her father wouldn't object. Hearing this, Jianchen's eyebrows furrowed together to look at the petite face of the princess. With a grim voice he spoke. This time there will most definitely be a bloodbath. You have never experienced such a scene before. Are you still willing? The princess' eyes reflected with no fear, as she stared back at Jianchen. Resolutely she said, It is because I have never experienced it before that I wish to go. It doesn't matter if this is my first time. This is what I must do to steel my heart and hone myself. Very well then. With that, Jianchen could not find any reason to decline her. She had spoken correctly as well. When it came to the bloody battles of war, this was something that a woman would have to go through to refine herself. Outside of Lore City, two middle-aged men rode upon two Class 3 magical beast mounts at a furious pace toward the city walls. One of them was a large-built man with a robust constitution, while the other was a rather frail-looking middle-aged man. The man with the burly muscles held a large boiled chicken and was slowly chewing on the greasy meat. Still with food in his mouth he spoke. The city in front of us must be Lore City. After so long we've finally arrived. How absolutely tiring. Yeah, we'll be in Lore City soon enough. Wipe off the oil on your mouth. This is a large city, so we have to be mindful of our appearances. The middle-aged man couldn't help but complain about the other man's current appearance. This one knows already. The burly man began to tear off the rest of the chicken and stuffed it in his mouth. Then, throwing the remaining parts of it onto the ground, he took out a towel from his space belt to wipe off the oil. These two men were Senior and Yun Zheng, who had been traveling through the Jessan Kingdom all this time, traveling and stopping at several points. It had taken them several days before they had finally arrived at Lore City. As the two drew close to Lore City, Senior suddenly took notice of the Eastern deity, swords not too far away. With a startled cry he spoke, Oi, Yun Zheng, look! There's a base nearby. Hearing this, Yun Zheng looked to where Senior was pointing, toward the group of people 5 kilometers away. There were about 56,000 men with plenty of camps and banners flying about. When Yun Zheng's eyes landed upon the banner flying overhead, he grew startled as well. What? They're an army from the Qinhuang Kingdom. What? Qinhuang Kingdom? Yun Zheng, are you sure you didn't look at it wrong? The Qinhuang Kingdom is so far away. Just how would their armies come running over here? Senior spoke in disbelief. Correct. That's clearly the banner of the Qinhuang Kingdom without any doubt. Yun Zheng spoke seriously. Forget it. Who cares what kingdom they're from? It has nothing to do with us. We might as well hurry into the city. The two men lined up to enter the city, only to realize that the security to enter was extremely strict. No matter whom the person was, they were interrogated before finally being admitted into the city. Entering the city seems to be quite annoying. Senior complained rather impatiently. The times in the Jessan Kingdom have been relatively unsafe. Especially with what happened in Lore City a few days back. Their security now makes sense. Quickly, it was their turn to be interrogated. The soldiers blocked the path for the two while asking, Who are you two? And what matters do you have in Lore City? Chapter 486, To War 3. I am Senior This is Yinzheng. We wish to enter the city to find someone. Senior and spoke. The names of the two men had caused the soldier's face to change abruptly. Turning around, the soldier called out, "I found them. Yinzheng and Seniorin. Hurry up and report to the city lord." At this, several soldiers immediately mounted their beasts to the lord's mansion. The reactions of the soldiers had caused both Seniorin and Yinzheng to be surprised. They were unclear of what was happening. When Yinzheng saw the soldiers ride away, a fierce glint appeared in his eyes. With a tremendous burst of speed befitting that of an Earth Saint Master, he flew past the speeding mounts and slammed his fist into one, killing the beast. The rider on top was roughly kicked off before sliding to the ground. "Speak quickly, what is happening? We have offended no one since our arrival in the Jessin Kingdom. Just who would go through all this effort to find us too?" Yinzheng stood in front of the soldier, with a terrifying amount of power leaking from his body. The disturbance in the area caused many nearby soldiers to leap into action. A large group of soldiers on the wall suddenly came running down to surround Yinzheng, while others brought out the crossbow cannons, with bolts ready to fire at any moment. Seniorin grew serious as well. Leaping into the air, he landed right next to Yinzheng and faced off against the soldiers around them. What's with all this? Who's making a racket? Suddenly, a large cry could be heard from the top of the walls as the captain Tu Fu came walking down. His eyes had a chill to them as he walked toward the group with a neutral expression. The soldiers who had interrogated Yu Zheng and Senior and came running forward and hurriedly ran in between the two hostile sides. "There's been a mistake, they're one of ours. One of ours, I said." One of the soldiers immediately ran up to Tu Fu and spoke. "Captain, these two are the Yinzheng and Senior and we've been looking for." "Senior and Yinzheng?" Tu Fu jumped before his expression grew hard. "I want everyone to stand down. Do not be rude." Like a tidal wave, the soldiers facing against Yinzheng and Senior and took a considerable step back. The originally tense atmosphere had dissolved away for a relaxed one to overtake it. But Yinzheng and Senior were both still skeptical and unsure of what in the world was happening. Tu Fu arrived right in front of the two and gave a gentle smile and bow. "So you two are Yinzheng and Seniorin. You finally arrived. We've been looking for you for several days now. Who are you? Why were you looking for us? The two of us don't recognize you." Seniorin couldn't help but question him curiously. Tu Fu chuckled. "To be truthful, it isn't us that are looking for you, but the fourth master of the Changyang clan." Yinzheng's eyes narrowed together. Fourth master of the Changyang clan? The Changyang Xiangtian, that has been the talk of rumors recently? Correct, it is that very Changyang Xiangtian. If you two are the one the fourth master has been looking for, you two will definitely recognize him. Tu Fu smiled faintly, but patiently as he explained to them. "What Changyang Xiangtian? I reckon you've the wrong people. This one doesn't know of a Changyang Xiangtian." Seniorin huffed gloomily. "That is." Tu Fu hesitated for a moment. Seniorin and Yinzheng displayed expressions that clearly indicated they didn't know Changyang Xiangtian. This made Tu Fu believe that they had found the wrong people. Yinzheng thought for a moment before a flash of realization streaked through his eyes. "Seniorin, do you think that this Changyang Xiangtian may be Jianchen?" Seniorin paused momentarily before his eyes lit up in surprise. "Ah, it has to be Jianchen, most definitely. It was Jianchen who told us to come to Lore City, and only he knows of our names." Tu Fu's smile had reappeared on his face at this. "The fourth master is currently within the Changyang clan. Please allow this one to guide the way." Afterward, Tu Fu personally led Senior and Yinzheng down the road to the Changyang clan. As soon as Yinzheng and Senior arrived, Jianchen, Ming Dong, and the others were coincidentally on site looking around and causing them to bump into one another. "Hey Jianchen, it really is you. I didn't think that the Changyang Xiangtian from the rumors would actually be a kid like you." When the two sides met, Seniorin gave a wide grin and a laugh in obvious excitement. Yinzheng was even calmer and stood by the side without saying a word, but in his heart was a surge of surprise. On their way here, the two of them had heard many stories in regards to the fourth master of the Changyang clan. When they heard that a 21-year-old had been able to become a Heaven Saint Master, Senior and Yin Zheng had turned their noses up, unconvinced that such a thing was possible. They had last met during the gathering of the mercenaries, so it was only natural that they would be happy to meet. Straight away, Jian Chen had the waiters to the inn prepare a large feast for the two men to enjoy and clean themselves. The two men had spent half a year traveling countless of kilometers to arrive at their destination. Such a feat moved even Jian Chen. Jian Chen, I didn't think that in the half a year since our last meeting, you would become a Heaven Saint Master. That's an unbelievable feat. It seems that you've benefited greatly from the Holy Lands. Senior spoke with a full mouth as he stuffed another piece of barbecue into it. He had been utterly shocked to hear Jian Chen was now a Heaven Saint Master. Haha, the Holy Lands is truly a great place to be. However, when I made my breakthrough, it was not due to the benefits of the Holy Land, but of another event. Jian Chen spoke vaguely without going into details. The people at the table were extraordinarily cheerful, as they recounted the tales of their own personal history since their last meeting. Even the calm but silent Princess Yu felt that she was one step closer to understanding Jian Chen after hearing more of his past achievements. Quickly, nightfall came when several bursts of qi came flying at a rapid speed toward the inn where the men from the Changyang clan were temporarily staying. Jian Chen and the other Heaven Saint Masters from the Qinhuang Kingdom quickly stepped out from the inn only to see that one of the new arrivals was the king. Alongside him was Xiao Tian, the headmaster of Kargath Academy, Kafir, and the guardian of the imperial palace, Yi Ming. I didn't think that the king would arrive so soon. This was a little beyond my expectations. Jian Chen thought to himself. The king, Kafir, and Yi Ming all exchanged several words of greeting before Chang Wuji took them to their own personal rooms. However, the three men all gave one long look to Jian Chen. After the past few days, Jian Chen had amazed them more and more with each second. None of them had thought that in several days, Jian Chen would unexpectedly return with 8 Heaven Saint Masters and an entire division of soldiers. The arrangement of military might had caused the king's heart to flutter. Jian Chen's influence in the Qinhuang Kingdom was far beyond what he had initially imagined. From within their own grand rooms, the 10 imperial advisors and the 3 generals all came forward to greet the king of the Jessin Kingdom. Although each one of them held a rank that was beyond a lowly king, they were all giving Jian Chen face. Furthermore, they had all learned that the king of the Jessin Kingdom was also Jian Chen's future father-in-law, so they had placed a higher level of importance on him. Each one of them were also aware in the not-so-distant future, their newly appointed imperial protector would make the breakthrough to become a saint ruler and become a person of even higher worth. A 21-year-old Heaven Saint Master held no precedent in the Tianyuan continent. It would be impossible to foretell just what heights he would reach in the future. The king of the Jessin Kingdom naturally understood the reason why they were all treating him in such a polite manner. It was because of Jian Chen, so he felt quite gratified toward him and the wise decision he made those years ago. If not for him proposing the idea of marriage when Jian Chen was younger, the sight he was witnessing today would not exist. There would be no way that a lowly king, such as he, would be able to stand on equal footing with a majestic kingdom as the Qinhuang Kingdom. The king gave a rather modest but respectful greeting to the men of the Qinhuang Kingdom, before turning to Jian Chen with a great big smile. My dear nephew, when might you begin suppressing the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom? The entire Eastern deity, swords will be transported over by tomorrow. When they are gathered, we will set out straight away. Jian Chen spoke. Very well. Against the finest of the Qinhuang Kingdom, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom will have no way to defend themselves. My dear nephew, this is truly no small matter for our Jessin Kingdom. This king wishes to go along with you to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Will you allow me this request? The king had spoken in a negotiative tone, since Jian Chen's status was far beyond what the king held. Even in terms of power, the king had no way of comparing to Jian Chen. Jian Chen couldn't refuse having the king request this of him in such a manner, and nodded his head without hesitation. Although the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom wasn't weak, the safety of several people wouldn't be too hard to manage with so many strong individuals from the Qinhuang Kingdom. After the talks were over, the group split up for the night. The king, Kafir, and Yi Ming followed Chang Wuji to their bedrooms. Chapter 487. To War 4. On the second day, a large group of people were gathered together in an inn, deciding how they should deal with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The ones that were the most outspoken were Ming Dong, Jian Chen, and the king. Qin Ji would sometimes interject with a word or two, and the 10 imperial advisors and 3 generals from the Qinhuang Kingdom remained silent throughout the entire ordeal. Their mission was to provide the power to deal with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, so they would leave the strategic thinking to Jian Chen. At this moment, one of the soldiers from the Eastern Deity Sword came in and knelt on the ground. A report for the generals. All 500,000 soldiers of the Eastern Deity Swords have been fully assembled. The soldiers have assembled faster than I had anticipated by a large margin. Qin Ji smiled and laughed. Qin Wuming looked to Jian Chen. Imperial Protector, what shall our next course of action be? Jian Chen stood straight away. We leave now. Afterward, a large group on mounted magical beasts left Lore City. This time, the 3 generals, 10 imperial advisors, Qin Ji, Chang Yangba, Jian Chen, Princess Yu, Ming Dong, De Gufeng, and the newly arrived Yin Zheng'an Sr. and were going to accompany the troops. Even the king of the Jessan Kingdom was leading the army, with 2 of the strongest individuals of the Jessan Kingdom with him. The head of Kargath Academy, Kafir, and the guardian of the Imperial Palace, Yi Ming. As the group left Lore City, they could see a large group of people in the distance with an awe-inspiring amount of presence that shot forth into the sky. Even from far away, everyone could feel the distinct pressure radiating from them to the point where even Lore City could feel the effects. As a result, the mercenaries and merchants within the city couldn't help but cast their eyes about them in surprise. Constant chatter could be heard, but very few dared to wander near them. With Jian Chen as the leader of the magical beast-mounted group, they arrived in front of the 500,000-strong army. Each soldier stood in neat and tidy order. Their eyes radiated a biting cold frost, and by their sides were 3-meter-long giant azure wolves. The Qinhuang Kingdom had a specialty for cultivating magical beasts for battle. The most elite division of soldiers, the soldiers of the Eastern Deity Swords, were given a magical beast who had followed behind them through the space gate. Faced with such a sight, Jian Chen couldn't help but feel absolutely astonished. He hadn't thought that in the short time where 500,000 soldiers came through the space gate, they would have enough time to bring so many magical beasts. What was even more startling was the fact that the Qinhuang Kingdom had been able to domesticate one of the most ruthless magical beasts into an obedient war beast. This could only lead to admiration for the Qinhuang Kingdom's way of life. The general of the Eastern Deity Swords, Qin Wuming, arrived at the front of the troops. At attention, soldiers! Saddle up and move out. Not a single soldier spoke a single word. All 500,000 soldiers silently leaped onto the magical beast next to them, without a word or wasted effort. Following Jian Chen's orders, the entire division swiftly traveled away from the Jessan Kingdom. A large group of people had already congregated by the gates of Lore City by this point. Each and every single one of them stared curiously at the silver-armored soldiers and began to talk to each other in curious wonder. Who are these people? With such an intense presence, my heart's already feeling quite terrified. This can't possibly be some sort of large-scale mercenary group activity, can it? How could that be? Don't tell me the Jessan Kingdom has such a massive mercenary group. Even the neighboring kingdoms don't have any mercenary groups with as many people as this. Take a look at this procession. There's several 100,000 people here. They must be the army then. Since when did the Jessan Kingdom have such a valiant division of soldiers? Even the light from their eyes is almost giving me a heart attack. It's like they're a dangerous magical beast. How terrifying these soldiers are. I don't believe the Jessan Kingdom has soldiers of such high caliber as these. Take a look at their banner. That's not the symbol of the Jessan Kingdom. Rather, it has the character Qin on it. I've heard that an imperial advisor from the Qinhuang Kingdom came by recently. Do you think that these soldiers are possibly from the Qinhuang Kingdom? Haven't you seen the magical beasts at their sides? Those are Class 2 and Class 3 magical beasts. I even saw several Class 4 magical beasts. Good heavens! Those magical beasts alone are already a force to be reckoned with. Take a look at the people in front of the soldiers. That white-robed man, isn't he our king? With his majesty leading the troops. Do you think that he is off to fight against the 4 kingdoms? A few days ago, several individuals from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom laid ruin to the imperial palace. I believe that His Majesty is leading the army to deal with them. The army of 500,000 had caused everyone nearby to stop where they stood due to their might, blockading the gates to Lore City. Over 1,000 people stood and watched the Eastern deity swords from far away, and could only mutter their thoughts. On the walls, the leaders of the 3 other clans of Lore City gathered around. Each one of them could only stare in disbelief at the forces gathered in front of them. At this time, every single person knew the reason why the Jessan Kingdom was able to enlist the help of the Qinhuang Kingdom was all due to the merits of the 4th master of the Changyang clan. With the support of the Qinhuang Kingdom, the Jessan Kingdom would become one of the hegemons in the area. Each one of the soldiers began to increase their speed. They were all adept at riding their magical beasts at high speeds. As they accelerated, they began to travel along with the wind, leaving behind a large trail of yellow dust that covered the atmosphere. If it were not for the fact that the soldiers of the Eastern deity swords were finely trained, then the soldiers wouldn't have been able to charge on through the dust without fear of striking another, causing mayhem. This time, Jian Chun and the other 15 Heaven Saint Masters had foregone their ability to fly, and instead rode on their mounts. With Jian Chun at the lead, he led them all toward the south with the 3 other generals in a triangular formation behind him. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was to the south of the Jessan Kingdom. Reaching it would require them to head past the southern stronghold toward the Andreas Kingdom and 2 other kingdoms before finally reaching the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. It was a far distance that would take a Heaven Saint Master 2 days of flight to get there. With a large army like this, it would require a dozen days at the very least. After 2 days of speedy travel, the army had finally reached the southern stronghold. The general in charge of that stronghold had long since been notified of their arrival, so he had been waiting 10 kilometers away from them. After the army rested at the stronghold for a brief moment, another group of 500,000 soldiers from the Jessan Kingdom had joined in. Combined with the Eastern deity swords, the army now had a cumulative force of 1 million. Separated by banner, one side represented the Qinhuang Kingdom, while the other side held the Jessan Kingdom's symbol. An action like this had already been discussed between the king of the Jessan Kingdom and Jian Chun. Such an action was the equivalent of declaring to the world that the Qinhuang Kingdom and the Jessan Kingdom had a close relationship with each other. Similarly, it would serve as an intimidation tactic to the surrounding several kingdoms. As the army of 1 million drew closer to the Andreas Kingdom, they came across multiple merchant and mercenary groups. Discussion and rumors started from all sides. At the same time, the information networks of every surrounding kingdom quickly transmitted news back to their respective kingdoms. The king of the Andreas Kingdom was the very first to know that the Jessan Kingdom had amassed a total of 1 million soldiers and were advancing toward his kingdom. When he heard of the banners of the Qinhuang Kingdom being flown with the army, the king had been scared witless and shook with fright. Straight away, he had called for a conference with all of his chancellors. Within the imperial palace of the Andreas Kingdom, several chancellors and civil and military officials could be seen gathered within with extremely serious expressions. I had no idea that the relationship between the Qinhuang Kingdom and the Jessan Kingdom was even closer than we initially thought. For them to send so many soldiers over to help the Jessan Kingdom, we were only able to learn of this after our emergency reports 2 days ago. Every single soldier has a strong magical beast aiding them, enforcing their military might. We don't even know how many Heaven Saint Masters there are. So in light of this, what measures do you think we should carry out now, everyone? The king of the Andreas Kingdom spoke quietly with an expression of utmost worry. Your Highness, please don't concern yourself with this. We have long since surrendered to the Jessan Kingdom from the last war, and provided a sufficient amount of compensation, there should be absolutely no more problems for the Jesson kingdom to cause trouble with us for. From what our spies reported to us 2 days ago, the reason why the Jesson kingdom has taken such an action is to fight the Heavenly Eagle kingdom. Our Andreas kingdom is coincidentally stuck in between the two kingdoms, so I am certain that the Jesson kingdom will most definitely only pass by our Andreas kingdom and head toward the Heavenly Eagle kingdom. One of the armored generals replied, "Your Highness, this humble servant agrees with General Mu's thoughts. Several days ago, some individuals from the Heavenly Eagle kingdom caused trouble within the Jesson kingdom, and not only laid waste to the imperial palace, but they even tried to kidnap the king of the Jesson kingdom. An action like this was no doubt a slap to the face of the Jesson kingdom. So this humble servant believes that the Jesson kingdom is on their way to deal with them, and not with our Andreas kingdom. We should be rest assured." Hearing the two men in front of him speak, the king of the Andreas kingdom sat upon his throne and thought for a moment before nodding. "Your words have logic in them. With the Jesson kingdom and Qinhuang kingdom looking as if they are siblings in relationship, we should not dare try to offend them in any way. If they wish to cross through our Andreas kingdom to get to the Heavenly Eagle kingdom, let us open our gates to them, allowing them quick passage through." "Yes, Your Majesty. Not only should we open our doors for them, we should personally greet them. After all, the people that are coming now are from the Qinhuang kingdom as well." Chapter 488. Invasion of the Army, 1. After a day and a half worth of traveling, the million-strong army from the Jesson kingdom and the Qinhuang kingdom had finally arrived at the stronghold of the Andreas kingdom. Visible from about 20 kilometers away, a large group of people could be seen gathered on top of the stronghold walls. Several banners with the symbol of the Andreas kingdom could be seen floating in the wind overhead. Seeing the situation right in front of them, Ming Dong rode toward Jianchun and pointed at the sight. "Brother, do you think that the people of the Andreas kingdom think we are here to fight them?" Jianchun had long since understood the circumstances of the sight in front of them with his presence, and shook his head with a smile. "No, definitely not. They are in fact here to welcome us." "Welcome us?" Ming Dong was taken aback for a moment before covering up his emotions. "Haha, that makes sense. It seems that the might of the soldiers of the Qinhuang kingdom is extraordinary enough to frighten even the Andreas kingdom's stronghold into welcoming us." "Haha, but of course, the Qinhuang kingdom is one of the 8 great powers. Their might is unquestionable. The Andreas kingdom, on the other hand, isn't even equal to our Jesson kingdom. Just how could they not fear the Qinhuang kingdom? This king believes that one of the people receiving us will be the king of the Andreas kingdom." The king of the Jesson kingdom spoke with a great laugh and an expression that exuded pride. Cheerfully, the group made their way toward the Andreas kingdom's stronghold in record speed. They were soon 100 meters within receiving distance of the Andreas kingdom. The king of the Jesson kingdom hadn't been wrong with his guess. Among the group that came forward to receive them, around 100 of them were the chancellors and armored generals of the king. At their head was an elderly man in his 60s with a crane hairstyle and dressed in a dragon robe. This man was the king of the Andreas kingdom. Every single person looked exhausted, a clear indicator that they came scurrying from the imperial palace without stopping once to rest. The king of the Andreas kingdom strode forward with a grim expression before cupping his hand together in salute. "This one is the king of the Andreas kingdom. I am here to personally receive the guests from the Qinhuang kingdom into my Andreas kingdom as honored guests." With that, the king of the Andreas kingdom looked over the entire group before looking straight at Jianchun, who was positioned at the very front of the group. In his heart, the king thought, "This must be an extremely important person from the Qinhuang kingdom." Straight away, the king stared at Jianchun with a look of utter reverence. The army of 1,000,000 had finally begun to slow down their pace. Not too long after, the distance between them and the Andreas kingdom became 20 meters apart. Not a single person made a sound as Jianchun muttered to himself. Then, he turned around to the king behind him. "Your Majesty, if you could make the negotiations with him." Yes, The king immediately smiled with a joyous expression. Jian Chen's actions illustrated just how high of a status the king retained. The king's Class 3, Golden Lion mount slowly moved forward to meet with the king of the Andreas Kingdom. Jian Chen's actions had confirmed the Andreas Kingdom's king's own thoughts. This youth that was leading the entire group was definitely a very high and mighty person within the Qinhuang Kingdom. The negotiations between the two kingdoms were completed quickly, without any words of familiarity between the two kings. The king of the Jesson Kingdom immediately told the other king that the army would cross through the borders of the Andreas Kingdom in order to arrive at the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The king of the Andreas Kingdom had already guessed that would happen. He was pleased and immediately agreed with enthusiasm that made it seem as if this was what he had wanted since the very beginning. Both kings made no notion to continue speaking with one another and returned to their respective groups. Soon, the army began to cross into the territory of the Andreas Kingdom. Seeing the army ride past him, the king of the Andreas Kingdom couldn't help but reveal an anxious look. Hurriedly running toward Jian Chen, who was still close by, he cupped his hands respectfully. Honorable master. The king knew that Jian Chen represented the Qinhuang Kingdom and was undoubtedly higher in status than even the imperial advisors from the kingdom. With such a majestic person crossing his border, the king of the Andreas Kingdom saw this to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that could not be missed. He wished to worm his way into the good graces of Jian Chen, so that the Andreas Kingdom would curry favor with the Qinhuang Kingdom, as the Jesson Kingdom had done. But his hopes were dashed when Jian Chen didn't even spare him a glance. His mount continued to pick up speed, and in a flash, the sounds of the hooves trotting overtook the king's words in volume, before Jian Chen found himself riding behind the army. Seeing the army of the Jesson and Qinhuang Kingdom mixed in with each other, the king of the Andreas Kingdom let out a long sigh in relief. There was only rejoicement in his heart. It was a good thing that the war with the Jesson Kingdom had come to a very quick conclusion. They quickly surrendered, compensated them for their actions, and neutralized any problems. If they had not, there would have been a possibility that this army, that was here today to deal with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, could have been here to deal with the Andreas Kingdom instead. Despite the fact that the Andreas Kingdom had over 10 million soldiers, their military might was far below that of an army belonging to one of the 8 great powers. Even an army of 50 million soldiers would barely be enough. An army of ants could bite an elephant to death, but a single stomp from the elephant would kill many ants. If the ants wished to kill an elephant, who knows just how many ants would need to die? The price to be paid would be even higher for an especially fierce elephant. The gates of the stronghold had long since been opened. Jian Chen rode his mount to the forefront and led the army into the Andreas Kingdom's territory, with the ear-shattering sound of his mount stampeding ahead to the south, where the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was located. At that current moment, within the imperial palace of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, the king was sitting in his garden along with an elder that wore a crane hairstyle. Suddenly, a soldier came running in at a panicked pace. Kneeling on the ground, he spoke. "A report for your majesty. One of our spies has just sent us some extremely confidential information." The king's eyes continued to stare at the chessboard in front of him without shifting his gaze. "Hand it over." The soldier handed over the letter in his hand to the king's hand without hesitation. Unfurling the letter, the king took out a single white parchment from within. Half a moment later, the king's face rapidly grew pale as the hands that were holding the letter began to tremble. With a dispirited mutter, he wondered aloud, How could this be?" Taking note of the king's expression, the crane hairstyled elder hesitated for a moment before asking curiously, "Your Majesty, what has happened for you to lose spirit like this?" The king's face had gone through several shades of pale before he finally responded, "Something terrible has happened. The relationship between the Jesson and the Qinhuang Kingdom was even closer than we had imagined. As we speak, the Qinhuang Kingdom has already dispatched 500,000 soldiers, with another 500,000 soldiers from the Jesson Kingdom, to march to our Heavenly Eagle Kingdom." "What?" the seated elder cried out in shock, before shaking his head violently in denial. "That can't be. That just cannot be. The distance between the two kingdoms has to be at least 1,000,000 kilometers apart. It would take the army at least half a year in order to travel to the Jessin kingdom. Just how could they have gotten here that fast? Did they already have that many soldiers stationed here ahead of time? I would think that the report is true rather than not. Although I may exaggerate, the Qinhuang kingdom is one of the 8 great powers, the strongest one at that. Aside from the 3 great empires, we do not know if they have any special methods for moving their troops. No, this is no small matter. The life of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom is at stake here. I will go ask Georgiant to investigate and see if the Qinhuang Kingdom is truly joining in on this matter. The king of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom ignored the chessboard in front of him and immediately ran from the garden. Within the territory of the Andreas Kingdom, the combined armies of the Jessin and Qinhuang Kingdom had already traveled for 2 hours. They had already passed through the central area of the Andreas Kingdom and weren't that far from the border now. The army would take a break in an expansive clearing to eat their rations. They occupied over 10 kilometers in circumference, and the Jessin Kingdom had even sent 100 small squadrons to head into the nearest cities within 20 kilometers in order to purchase some food to replenish the energy of the Jessin Kingdom soldiers. Each soldier from the Eastern deity, Swords, had a space belt that contained a large amount of drinking water and rations that could keep them going for half a year without worry. The Jessin Kingdom wasn't as rich as the Qinhuang Kingdom was, so they could not afford to fit everyone with a space belt. Thus, the rations were limited for the Jessin Kingdom. After the army had rested for about 2 hours, they moved out once again. In a flash, they crossed the border of the Andreas Kingdom and moved into a wasteland that didn't even have an inch of grass growing. At that moment, Jian Chen's eyes glinted as he looked up to the sky. There was only a blanket of white clouds in the sky, where sunlight was incapable of shining through. Aside from this pale spot, there was nothing else. Each of the Heaven Saint Masters by Jian Chen had felt the same sensation as well. Turning their heads to the sky, their previously impassive faces now revealed terrifying glints in their eyes. Jian Chen revealed a cold smile as he spoke. Men from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. It appears that they have come to scout our strength. Xiao Tian, invite them over. Yes, Xiao Tian replied before shooting into the sky like a bolt of lightning. In an instant, he had disappeared into the white patch of clouds. Boom! In the next moment, a muffled explosion could be heard from the sky as a wave of energy washed all over the world. All of the nearby clouds were scattered apart as a result, causing the blaze that had started in the sky to dye the ground beneath in red light. After the clouds had dispersed, the figures in the sky were noticeable to everyone. A single ray of blue and red the size of ants could be seen floating high in the sky. Again and again, they would clash against each other with a loud explosion. After several exchanges, the blue ray of light fell to the ground as the red glow of light pursued it relentlessly. Soon enough, the 2 rays of light grew even more distinct, revealing that they were humans all along. The person in blue stabilized himself halfway through the fall when suddenly, he accelerated toward the army below him. In an instant, another 10 bursts of qi could be felt coming from the army. The 10 or so Heaven Saint Masters by Jian Chen's side began to display their own presence, before suddenly soaring into the sky to defend the army beneath them. Although the Eastern deity swords were extremely strong, if a Heaven Saint Master were to attack them, even the elite division of soldiers would be reduced to tofu, due to the differences in strength. Chapter 489. Invasion of the Army 2. The presence of 10 or so Heaven Saint Masters defending the troops was extremely overwhelming. Their power melted together to form one indistinguishable force of power. The figure in blue that was coming at them came to a grinding halt. The fire element owner, Xiao Tian, was already in pursuit and immediately clashed with the other person. Each time the 2 crossed fists, a large wave of energy exploded outward with an astonishing amount of force. After a dozen more exchanges between the 2, the blue-colored figure was finally injured by Xiao Tian. Blood poured from his mouth as his body descended to the ground, before finally slamming into the ground 100 meters away from the army. The impact was so big that a crater was formed, Xiao Tian streaked across the sky like a red shooting star before finally coming to a stop 10 meters away from the impact zone. His eyes were sharp and cold as he stared emotionlessly down at the injured figure, but he did not move to attack. A coughing sound could be heard from the figure that Xiao Tian had downed. Struggling to get back up to his feet, the individual gave a frightened look to Xiao Tian. The dozen or so Heaven Saint Masters slowly descended back to the ground and onto their mounts once more. Jianchen slowly urged his mount 10 meters ahead where the individual was. With a smile, Jianchen spoke, "Sire Georgian, I did not think that we would see each other again so soon. It seems that we were destined to meet." Georgian gave a heavy look to Jianchen with a permeated expression of fear. The memory of the event that had happened within the Jessan Kingdom's imperial palace was still fresh in his mind. His very own saint weapon had been damaged by this youth in front of him without the slightest amount of effort. Fourth master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian. Georgian spoke heavily with a difficult expression. Laughing, Jianchen responded, "Correct, this one is he. I did not think that Sire Georgian would recognize me." Georgian's stare turned to Xiao Tian and the other Heaven Saint Masters who were now sitting on their mounts. "Changyang Xiangtian, I came here today to see the representative of the Qinhuang Kingdom. Please step aside." "Sire Georgian, do you really think you hold the qualifications to do that?" Jianchen carried a faint smile on his face as he looked down on Georgian from his mount. Georgian's expression faltered for a moment before answering. "Of course I don't have the qualifications, but you do not have the final say on this matter either. Just what qualification do you have for stopping me?" Jianchen smiled wide as if to ridicule Georgian. "If Sire Georgian is unaccepting of my words, perhaps we should fight once more. Will that be enough to show you who has the qualifications?" Georgian's face took on the color of green and white as he listened to Jianchen's words. His chest began to rise and fall as his breath became ragged. This was the very first time he had someone from the younger generation look down on him. Such a fact made him extremely angry, but Georgian did not act upon his emotions. He had already seen Jianchen's strength for himself back in the imperial palace of the Jessan Kingdom. He knew he was no match for Jianchen, so if he were to recklessly charge now, it would be to only invite disaster upon himself. Georgian ignored Jianchen and looked to the entourage behind him. Cupping his hands, he spoke. "This one is Georgian, the representative of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. I wish to speak with the representative of the Qinhuang Kingdom." Not a single person answered Georgian's words. From the 10 or so Heaven Saint Masters, the 3 generals, and even the Prince Qinji, not a single one spoke. This was because the representative Georgian was asking for was already in front of him. He just didn't know that himself yet. Bearing witness to such a ridiculous sight like this, the princess couldn't contain herself any longer. A PFT escaped from her lips before her eyes morphed into a crescent-like shape. She soon giggled in laughter toward the direction of Jianchen. Jianchen began to laugh as well. "Sire Georgian, you may as well return to your king. Let him prepare himself to see just how strong the finest soldiers of the Qinhuang Kingdom truly are." The finest soldiers of the Qinhuang Kingdom. Georgian's mind shook as he looked to the majestic army behind Jianchen in disbelief. He hadn't thought that the Qinhuang Kingdom would dispatch so many people, let alone the finest division. Georgian stood there with a dark and indecisive expression for a moment, but in the end, he turned about and left with a heavy heart and silent mouth. "Let us be on our way as well." The army continued to move forward across the seemingly infinite desolate plains for an entire day. By noon of the second day, they had finally arrived at the second kingdom on their route, the Persian Kingdom. The Persian Kingdom had long since been informed of the news of the Qinhuang Kingdom by the Andreas Kingdom. So the king had led a branch of nobles and chancellors to the stronghold in preparation to welcome the army in an even grander manner than the Andreas Kingdom. The stronghold walls were decorated with their lanterns and banners, with thousands beating their drums loudly by the side, to form a single wide path for the army to enter. The armies of the Jessan and Qinhuang Kingdom began to slow down once more. Jianchen could only smile when he saw the enthusiastic welcoming of the Persian Kingdom. With the king of the Jessan Kingdom being in charge of the negotiations, This scene did not require him to make an appearance. This time, the king of the Jessan kingdom received the enthusiastic welcoming of the Persian kingdom with a warm expression, unlike the cold one he displayed with the king of the Andreas kingdom. The negotiations between the two kings were simple, and only several words of conversation were spoke before the king of the Persian kingdom stated his wish to be an ally to the Jessan kingdom with an honest expression. In spite of such a blunt request, the king of the Jessan kingdom managed to evade giving a direct answer. The Jessan kingdom had already managed to scale the giant tree that was the Qinhuang kingdom, granting them a status that rose with the tide. Their rising era was only around the corner, so the ordinary kingdoms no longer held any weight in the eyes of the Jessan kingdom's king. After the negotiations were finished, the king of the Jessan kingdom followed the army once more and spearheaded their way through the Persian kingdom's lands toward the Heavenly Eagle kingdom. Within the Heavenly Eagle kingdom, a heavily injured Georgian had already returned and was recounting his story in full detail to the king. Your Majesty, the information was not false. The army of the Qinhuang kingdom is truly coming. Furthermore, it is the finest division they have that is coming along with at least 10 Heaven Saint Masters. The situation is not looking well for us. Georgian spoke heavily with anxious eyes. AI, the king of the Heavenly Eagle kingdom sighed. I blame our impulsiveness back then. The information from Prime Minister Che's network was incorrect. The Jessan and Qinhuang kingdom have a connection with each other that is far closer than we could have possibly imagined. This connection has to be unique, otherwise, there would be no way the Qinhuang kingdom would send their most elite division so far away to help the Jessan kingdom. Your Majesty, what should we do now? Should we surrender, or should we fight? If it comes to fighting, we lack the same amount of Heaven Saint Masters. We simply cannot go against them. Furthermore, the imperial advisors of the Qinhuang kingdom are far too strong. Just the 6 of them were able to utterly defeat 10 Heaven Saint Masters from our own kingdom, to the point of nearly losing their lives. Furthermore, that Changyang Xiangtian is involved in this group now. Despite his age, he possesses an absolutely mysterious power that is the bane of even Heaven Saint Masters. While we were still in the imperial palace of the Jessan kingdom, he managed to defeat me in less than 5 moves. Georgian spoke anxiously. The very thought of Changyang Xiangtian made his face reveal a cowed expression. The azure and violet sword spirits controlled a terrifying power that could make even a Heaven Saint Master feel dread in their minds. The king shook his head as he rubbed his temples painfully. Helplessly he said, "We cannot surrender either. The army of the Qinhuang kingdom has come from far away. If we were to surrender in hopes that their army would retreat, they wouldn't have brought the army here in the first place. Furthermore, they wouldn't have bothered to have gone through the trouble of inviting several imperial advisors. I believe this time, the Jessan kingdom wishes to truly wipe out our Heavenly Eagle kingdom. We cannot defend, and we cannot surrender either. What should we do?" Georgian sighed. "Senior Georgian, go and inform the strongest individuals of the kingdom. Tell them the circumstances, and have them gather within the strongholds. This king will definitely find a way to make the army of the Qinhuang kingdom retreat." The king sat back on his dragon throne with an exhausted look as his eyes closed. Georgian hesitated for a moment before finally nodding his head. "Very well. I will go and report to them." After Georgian had left, the king's closed eyes slowly opened. Looking at the golden halls, he muttered to himself, "I had not thought that an error of judgment would cause this king to lose his country. The previous generations poured their lifeblood into laying the foundation of this country. I truly must pay my respects to them." The king closed his pained eyes once more. After some time he spoke, "Guard, Your Majesty." A single guard came running in quickly. "Contact Senior Long Chun. Tell him that this king accepts their request as long as they help the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom get over this crisis." After he spoke, the king seemingly lost all of his energy and slumped over the throne in a paralyzed state almost. 7 days quickly went by. By now, the Jessan and Qinhuang Kingdom's army's plan to attack the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was known by many people. This information had spread waves throughout the entire region to the point where everyone commented hotly over the problem many times. There were many people from the surrounding kingdoms talking about the matter between the Jesson and Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. In this short amount of time, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's atmosphere had grown extremely tense. Although the army of the Jesson and Qinhuang Kingdom had only 1 million people and was trifling in comparison to the tens of millions of soldiers the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had, everyone was well aware that the Qinhuang Kingdom's strength was far stronger than the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Even with just 500,000 soldiers, the Qinhuang Kingdom was far more than capable of delivering serious damage to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Even if the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom managed to destroy the army, the Qinhuang Kingdom would possibly send 1 million or even over 1 million soldiers next time. Against the army of the Qinhuang Kingdom, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom did not even consider surrendering. Their armies were on the move constantly. 3 divisions of soldiers stationed at other strongholds were relocated to the one that the Jesson and Qinhuang Kingdom would appear at. After several days of preparation, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom managed to gather 6 million soldiers at the northern stronghold. Practically half the military might was placed there, while at the same time, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom stationed several strong individuals there. Within the northern stronghold of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, 10 experts and several armored generals stood steadfast. Their eyes observed the area in front of them, as if they were waiting for something. Not long after, the ground began to shake as a trail of dust began to form over the horizon. Countless humanoid and beast figures began to appear at tremendous speeds. The army of the Jesson and Qinhuang Kingdom had finally arrived. Chapter 490, City Invasion 1. The gates to the northern stronghold of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom were closed shut. The walls to the stronghold had many different sized slots in them, and from these holes, crossbow bolts the size of arms could be seen poking out. On top of the walls, countless soldiers could be seen preparing magical crystal cannons and aiming them. The entire atmosphere was rather tense. 3 kilometers away from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, the combined army of the Jesson and Qinhuang Kingdom was already spread in every direction possible to avoid being completely destroyed by a single large-ranged cannon strike. The already ant-sized soldiers would be completely devastated. However, both kingdoms' armies had already split into 2 main camps. The silver-armored Eastern Deity Sword soldiers stood in front, while the 500,000 soldiers from the Jesson Kingdom stood at the rear. For the besiegement of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, the Eastern Deity Swords would be the main force, while the Jesson Kingdom's army would merely act as a facade. They would not take part in the actual battle. The Jesson Kingdom had just experienced a war, so their military prowess was at an all-time low. They couldn't afford to squander their strength at will. With Jianchen at the head, he led the 10 imperial advisors and the 3 generals of the Qinhuang Kingdom forward on their magical beast mounts toward the stronghold walls. Kafir and Yi Ming stood by the king and the princess's sides as their bodyguards. Only the Qinhuang Kingdom would be putting any effort into this war. The Jesson Kingdom did not need to do anything. When Jianchen's group grew close, 11 individuals came down from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's walls. With serious expressions, they locked their gazes onto the 14 men that were riding forward. Georgian tried to restrain his fear as he looked at Jianchen and said, "The youth that walks at the front is the 4th master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian. Everyone should be careful." Georgian's injuries were already completely healed thanks to several radiant saint masters, so his face now radiated a healthy, rosy glow. The individuals on either side of Georgian only nodded grimly. They had long since heard Georgian's warning, and knew that this youth in the very front would be an extremely difficult person to fight against. Jianchen and the 13 others stopped 500 meters away from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's stronghold. With their strengths as Heaven Saint Masters, the magical crystal cannons and crossbows of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom didn't even pose a threat to them. They could completely ignore it all. Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, I will give you a few moments to think. Surrender and live, or resist and be slaughtered. Jianchen cried out with a thunderous voice. His voice was so loud it shook the entirety of the stronghold, so that a layer of dust could be seen falling from the structure. Not willing to be outdone, someone from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom immediately shouted out, "Jessen Kingdom, despite having the Qinhuang Kingdom supporting you from behind, we, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, do not fear you. If you have the courage, then attack." The 5 million-man army of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom have been waiting in anticipation for a long time. Jian Chen's eyes glinted fiercely as his mouth curled into a cold smirk. "General Qin Wuming, give the order." "Yes, Imperial Protector." The General Qin Wuming of the Eastern Deity Swords bowed in response before lifting his hand high into the air. "Eastern Deity Swords, at my command attack the city and kill." As soon as Qin Wuming's voice trailed away, the soldiers behind him gave an earth-trembling cry as they all moved at once. Like a stampede of horses that had thrown off their reins, or perhaps more like a flood, they began to charge toward the stronghold with a sky-high amount of pressure radiating from their bodies. The most eye-catching part was a single platoon of 500 soldiers, leading the initial charge, while the rest of the army was at the rear. This single platoon of 500 was comprised of the most elite Eastern Deity swords. Each one of them was an Earth Saint Master specialized in mounting the enemy walls for the initial assault, and destroying the magical crystal cannons and crossbows on the walls. "Fire the magical crystal cannons! Fire the crossbows!" At the same time, the king of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom gave a command. The command made its way to the ears of all the soldiers, and the sounds of cannon fire could be heard shortly afterward. Hundreds of bright balls of energy could be seen rippling through the sky and smashing straight at the soldiers. Thousands of crossbow bolts were shot high into the sky, forming a dark cloud. They shot forth from the walls with an ear-piercing sound. These crossbow bolts were only capable of killing great Saint Masters, and posed no major threat to Earth Saint Masters. With this group of 500 elite soldiers in the front being entirely comprised of Earth Saint Masters, they swiftly brandished their saint weapons and swatted away all of the incoming crossbow bolts. Even though there were many crossbolts fired, about several thousand, the area they had to cover was huge, so the arrows were scattered. Thus, the platoon of 500 elite soldiers wasn't affected in the slightest by this wave of crossbow bolts. Boom, 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 boom. A series of intense explosions could be heard as several hundred rounds from the magical crystal cannons smashed into the ground, riddling the area with deep craters. In preparation against the magical crystal cannons, the Eastern Deity swords had long since evenly spread themselves out. As a result, the magical crystal cannons' terrifying might and large-scale attack power couldn't be displayed at all. The results from the first wave of attack were completely disproportionate to the amount of effort put into it. Only a dozen or so of the Eastern Deity swords were injured. The platoon of 500 simply could not be stopped with their forward momentum, and their Class 3 and Class 4 magical beast mounts quickly transversed the several kilometers to the stronghold walls. Straight away, the mounts were prompted to leap up into the air by their riders and onto the wall. Their sharp claws easily ripped through the outer layer of iron, and the beasts began to swiftly climb upwards. "Pour the oil," one of the generals of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom commanded. Suddenly, several hundred large vats of flaming oil were moved to be poured over the city walls in an attempt to hinder and stop the invaders climbing the walls. But before they could even pour the vats completely, another ear-piercing sound could be heard as several short crossbow bolts were shot through the air. The soldiers holding these vats were riddled with holes from the crossbow bolts before they could even react. With no soldiers holding onto the vats of oil, the vats fell back onto the walls and splashed the flaming oil onto the ground. In an instant, the entire surface on top of the walls was set aflame with black smoke soaring into the sky, as if verifying the tragedy of war. At the base of the walls, many silver-armored soldiers could be seen kneeling on the ground. In their hands was a miniature model of a crossbow machine that shot at the people on top of the walls. For the sake of covering for the first 500 soldiers climbing the walls, these half-a-meter-long crossbow bolts shot forth from the devices in an attempt to stop those who were trying to fight off the 500 elite soldiers. The 500 elite soldiers quickly scaled the several hundred-meter-tall stronghold walls. Brandishing their saint weapons, they began to slaughter all of the soldiers currently controlling the magical crystal cannons and crossbows. Screams of pain and war could be heard, as the previously orderly soldiers of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom became embroiled in a chaotic battle with the elite platoon from the Qinhuang Kingdom. In the face of an Earth Saint Master, even great Saint Masters would be incomparably weak, and the weak would naturally look even more minute. Only another Earth Saint Master would be able to go against one of these elite soldiers. But even then, in a one-on-one fight, the chances of an Earth Saint Master winning against an Eastern deity sword would be very slim. The stronghold of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was in a constant state flux. But then almost all of their attacks with crossbows and magical crystal cannons were halted straight away. In the end, not a single one was firing anymore. They were reduced to nothing more than intimidating decorations. At the same time, the 10 imperial advisors from the Qinhuang Kingdom had flown into the air and locked their attentions on the 11 Heaven Saint Masters from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. With their feet planted in the air, the imperial advisors were there to prevent the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's Heaven Saint Masters from interfering with the Eastern deity swords. Neither side made a move. Everyone knew that the battle between 20 Heaven Saint Masters would be unparalleled. In the case that a fight did break out, the entire area would crumble away. While the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's stronghold would be destroyed, both armies would take serious casualties. The 5 million soldiers in the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom army were gathered close together in their stronghold. If a battle between the Heaven Saint Masters really did break out, the losses the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom would incur would be far too much to bear. While there were only 500,000 soldiers from the Qinhuang Kingdom, each one of these soldiers were worth their weight in gold. Even more importantly, the imperial advisors from the Qinhuang Kingdom did not wish to see the soldiers of the Eastern deity swords die in a place like this. Thus, the experts of both sides were afraid and did not wish to make the first strike. The 500 elite soldiers continued their slaughter on top of the stronghold walls without interruption. Occasionally, they would be met with an Earth Saint Master from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. But even they were quickly killed off by the elite soldiers. While that was happening, the remaining army of the Eastern deity swords had begun to charge at the stronghold walls. In quick succession, they began to climb up the walls in a similar fashion to the first 500 people, and started to fight the soldiers on top of the walls as well. Not long afterward, the stronghold gates were forced open by the silver-armored soldiers. The rest of the Eastern deity swords that were waiting outside let out a thunderous battle cry before charging in. Although there was a huge difference in the number of soldiers between both sides, the quality of the Qinhuang Kingdom's soldiers were on a completely different level. As the elite soldiers of the Qinhuang Kingdom, their strength had been tempered from the experience of many battles and fights against magical beasts. This method incited valiance in each soldier. In addition to the incredibly strong defensive power they obtained from the silver armor that even a great saint would have trouble breaking, as well as the fact that each person possessed Earth-tier battle skills. Every soldier was well prepared to easily kill several other soldiers of the same level as them. Chapter 491. City Invasion, 2. On top of the stronghold walls of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was a scene of bitter war. The walls were covered with rivers of blood and bodies. The silver armor of the Eastern deity swords was dyed with the blood of their enemies and filled with dents and holes all over. If not for the superb protective ability of the armor, then some of the soldiers would never have been able to survive. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom wasn't filled with weak individuals after all. Sometimes an expert from their side would appear, and sometimes a soldier of the Eastern deity swords would be attacked by multiple enemy soldiers at once, becoming injured. Jian Chen hadn't participated in the battle and moved back with his mount to where Princess Yu Yu was. Paying close attention to the pale face of the princess, Jian Chen knew that this was the very first time she had ever witnessed such a bloody battle. In a rare moment of concern, he spoke. "Princess Yu Yu, are you all right? If things get too much, please close your eyes." The princess displayed a disturbed expression on her face, but she shook her head and mumbled, Just how many people will die here? War is truly too cruel. Sighing, Jianchen replied, there's no other way. War is always as such. This is a scene that occurs almost every day on the Tianyuan continent. The weak are the food for the strong. That is the law of this world. Trying to avoid such a rule is an impossibility, unless you are one of the three great empires. When one has a strength on par with theirs, no one would dare cause trouble with them. Changyang Xiangtian, have them surrender. There is no need to kill anymore. Those soldiers have a family. The princess couldn't bear it anymore and began to ask. Although she knew that war was cruel and unavoidable, she still found it extremely hard to accept the sight in front of her. Jian Chen's eyes focused on the beautiful Princess Yu. Princess Yu, before you say those words, I would like for you to remember just how the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom treated your father in the past. Not only did they lay waste to the imperial palace, but they even kidnapped your father. If not for the 5 imperial advisors in my Changyang clan beating back the individuals from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, then your father would have been captured and brought back to their kingdom to be nothing more than a prisoner. The princess went quiet, since she couldn't think of any words to refute Jianchen. Jianchen continued to speak. Princess Yu, to live in this world is to not live with any feelings of pity. The only thing you should look at is the road you walk on underneath your feet. I gave them a chance to surrender, but they didn't cherish it. In this world, there is no such thing as cruel or uncruel. There is only strength. Strength is what is needed in order to survive. When I survived by myself all those years in the past, do you know how much blood was spilt by my hands? Let me tell you, no more than 10,000 and no less than 1,000. Yuer, Changyang Xiangtian speaks logically. If not for the Qinhuang Kingdom's assistance, then we would not have been able to repel the 4 armies against us. This matter did not start in the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, but within the imperial palace of our Jessan Kingdom. The ones who attacked our cities were the 4 kingdoms. The headmaster of Kargath Academy Kafir spoke. The princess remained quiet. She understood the logic the 2 people used. It wasn't often that she saw a massacre, but whenever she thought about how easy it was to take away a life, her heart couldn't help but feel emotionally pained. This wasn't a simple matter, where just tens of people were dying after all. Millions of lives were at stake. The bloodbath and carnage being revealed in its crude sight was not a sight for any woman to see. Even a man who had never experienced war would not be able to take such a sight easily. The death count of the soldiers from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom continued to climb for half the day. By the end of the day, their death count totaled over 150,000 soldiers, while the soldiers from the Eastern Deity swords were extremely unequal in number. Their casualty rates were almost negligible, with several tens of soldiers dying while the rest only received minor scratches. Seeing the situation around them, the elderly general in charge of the soldiers of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom grew inexplicably serious. The elite soldiers of the Qinhuang Kingdom were far more amazing than he had calculated. Even with 5 million soldiers, they were not able to suppress a measly 500,000. Retreat! The elder quickly gave the command to retreat. At this rate, even if the entire army were to sacrifice themselves, the damages done to the Qinhuang Kingdom's army wouldn't even be detrimental. At the command to retreat, the army of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom felt cowed. Like water, they immediately fled back within the stronghold, while many soldiers had thrown down their armor in an attempt to flee even faster. Faced against the fierce beasts and soldiers of the Eastern Deity swords, they had long since lost their fighting spirit. In their eyes, this group of silver-armored soldiers were like the unkillable cockroach. Their saint weapons found it hard to pierce through the silver armor the enemy had on. Even when a dozen men surrounded one, the enemy would break through their defenses with his indomitable spirit. On their magical beast mounts, the Eastern Deity swords gave chase to the enemy. With their magical beasts being much faster than the army in front of them, the army was quickly overtaken with no path to escape to. Spare the ones who surrender. A loud cry could be heard as the general of the Qinhuang Kingdom, Qin Wuming, commanded with a powerful cry that could be heard across the horizons. I surrender. I surrender, don't kill me. Finally, several men with wavering determination began to cry out their request to surrender. With a precedent now established, the final barrier in everyone's mind had fully collapsed, leading to more and more people crying out to surrender. Within a moment, the entire army was echoing with the sounds. As the army of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom surrendered, the 11 Heaven Saint Masters from the same kingdom gave each other a look. With a silent agreement, they turned around and flew away. They would not do battle with the Heaven Saint Masters of the Qinhuang Kingdom here. The only battle that would happen today would be the 5 million strong army against the elite soldiers from the Qinhuang Kingdom. With their army losing their morale, the Heaven Saint Masters of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom would not stay here any longer. Without even waiting for Jian Chen's command, the imperial advisors from the Qinhuang Kingdom gave chase. In a flash, the group disappeared out of sight. After some time, a distant explosion of sounds could be heard, as the Heaven Saint Masters from both kingdoms finally began to fight. Chapter 492. Sect of Dragon and Tiger, 1. When the 10 imperial advisors from the Qinhuang Kingdom chased after the other Heaven Saint Masters, they moved far enough to disappear from sight, but the sounds of their battle could still be heard from far away. All sorts of elemental energy could be seen blasting apart at each other, exploding in a multi-spectrum array of color. Jian Chen was ultimately unconcerned with the battle far away. He hadn't spared even a glance at them, since he had absolute faith in the imperial advisors. Even with 11 Heaven Saint Masters, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom stood no chance. General Qin Wuming, take the stronghold. Jian Chen spoke. Yes, the general replied before riding into the stronghold to make the proper arrangements. Now that the army of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had surrendered, the entire stronghold would now be occupied by the Eastern deity swords. After the cries of war had ended, the 500,000 soldiers of the Jessin Kingdom finally began to move into the stronghold. In this battle, the Eastern deity sword suffered 96 casualties, while 20,000 soldiers sustained slight injuries, and another 3,000 received heavy injuries. On the enemy side, over 100,000 soldiers had died with another 300,000 captured. All in all, this was a splendid victory for the Qinhuang Kingdom. Only the 8 great powers, or the 3 great empires, would be capable of pulling off such a brilliant military success like this. After a candle wick's worth of time, the imperial advisors finally returned. Speaking to Jian Chen, Xiao Tian spoke. We've killed 2 of them while the other 8 fled with grave wounds. Oh, Jian Chen nodded. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom has only 15 Heaven Saint Masters. After 4 of them were killed in the Jessin Kingdom, there should be 11 remaining. Now with 2 of them dying here, that should mean 9 Heaven Saint Masters are left. And now the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom is no longer a threat to us. Although they have more ordinary soldiers, if we were to enter the battle, even their overwhelming army would come to an end. Xiao Tian spoke. Jian Chen nodded his head in agreement. That's correct. Our soldiers are far ahead in ability. When the time comes, I will move if need be to reduce the loss on the Eastern deity swords. You all should rest up for now. We will continue tomorrow. When the first day came to an end, and the second day started, the entire group continued to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The same day, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom began to mobilize all their soldiers from the other 3 strongholds to move war materials into the imperial city. The entire army gathered many experts within the palace to be the final line of defense and take part in the war that would determine whether or not the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom would survive. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom and one of the 8 great powers fighting each other caused plenty of noise in the neighboring areas. All of the nearby kingdoms had great interest in this affair, and many people went to gather intelligence within the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom to find out what had caused this war. After some information was leaked, the name of the Jessin Kingdom exploded with popularity. Their status escalated at an incredible rate. From a silent and almost unheard of kingdom, they suddenly became an existence that could not be bothered at any costs. With the Qinhuang Kingdom attacking the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, plenty of kingdoms now knew that the Jessin Kingdom and the Qinhuang Kingdom were extremely close. The armies of the Qin Huang and Joseon Kingdom trekked for 3 full days, before finally ending up at their final destination, the imperial city of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The imperial city of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was monstrous in size, a king city. Its defensive abilities were far beyond that of a stronghold. It had city walls about 100 meters high. There was a single-foot-thick plate of tempered steel surrounding the entire city, like a heavy suit of armor. Not only was this tempered steel plate heavy, but it was also many times more durable than ordinary steel plate. By now, the entire army of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was gathered within the city and prepared to battle against the Qin Huang Kingdom in a do-or-die battle. It was not easy fitting all the soldiers, because the imperial city was not as spacious as any of the strongholds. Just outside the city walls were about 2 million soldiers, who were packed together like ants. For as far as the eyes could see, anyone looking would only be able to see a sea of heads. Rows of magical crystal cannons and crossbow machines were situated on the ground and aimed at the area in front of them. Another part of the army was on the city walls, manning the few hundred magical crystal cannons and crossbows placed on the walls. Although there were several 100,000 men on the walls, not a single sound could be heard. Everything was deathly silent as everyone looked ahead with a strange calm, despite the pressure they felt. Right in front of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, several rows of silver-armored soldiers from the Eastern deity, swords were mounted on their magical beasts in uniform order. The entire division let out a mighty battle spirit that combined with the presence of their magical beast companions. At the very front of the division, Jian Chen and the other 13 members of the Qin Huang Kingdom lead the soldiers. The king of the Joseon Kingdom, Princess Yu, Changyang Ba, Ming Dong, Dugafeng Kafir, Yi Ming, Seniorin and Yun Zheng stood at the back, so as to avoid any accidents that may occur. This battle would undoubtedly be far more intense than the one at the stronghold. This was the battle that would determine the continued existence of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. For that, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom would surely go all out to defend their city, and for the sake of everyone's welfare, Jian Chen had all of his close family and friends stay behind. The armies of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom and the Qin Huang Kingdom stood still and maintained position. All they needed to do was wait for their respective generals to give the order for the battle to begin. For 2 hours, both sides stood still before Jian Chen finally turned to Qin Wuming. Sound the order to attack. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom were adamant on defending themselves to the death, so Jian Chen did not wish to spare any time trying to convince them to surrender. Nodding, Qin Wuming waved his hand and ordered, "Attack." At his command, a series of weapon fire could be heard from behind the Eastern deity swords. Several spheres of fire fluctuating with an unstable amount of energy could be seen flying over the heads of the Eastern deity swords before ultimately landing within the concentrated area where the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's army was. Half of these magical crystal cannons were forcibly taken from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's stronghold, while the other half came from the Eastern deity swords themselves. The parts were split up between several space rings and could be assembled when needed. As the most elite division of the Qin Huang Kingdom, they were not only extremely strong, but they had all sorts of instruments of war prepared when the situation called for it. Previously, when they fought against the northern stronghold of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, they had no need for the cannons, thus they did not take them out to use. The imperial city had far more soldiers within it than what a stronghold could boast. Even more so, the imperial city had a single foot thick of reinforced steel plating protecting it, so the magical beasts of the Eastern deity sword would have a hard time scaling it. There was no way for them to scale the walls as fast. Faced against such a problem, they had no other choice but to use the magical crystal cannons. Boom 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 boom. Following several series of explosive sounds, the spheres of fire impacted at the rear of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's army, leaving behind several large craters in the ground. All of the soldiers in close proximity were killed by the explosion. With a single barrage, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's army had suffered major losses. At the same time, the general of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's army had sent out the order to attack as well. The magical beast cannons constructed on the walls of the city fired in the direction of the Qinhuang Kingdom's army. They let loose several ear-whistling projectiles that streaked through the air toward the eastern deity swords. Jianchun and the 13 individuals soared up into the air before spreading out. Each person lifted both palms before a surge of energy from the world burst from them and hindered the speed of the projectiles flying toward them. In the end, the several hundred rounds of energy balls flew no further than 500 meters before losing all forward momentum and falling to the ground below. Coincidentally, another part of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's army was right below these energy balls. Not only did the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom fail to injure the soldiers of the Eastern Deity Sword, they instead killed off even more of their own soldiers. Bastard! You are excessive in your actions, to dare interfere with the battle between soldiers. A furious roar could be heard coming from the walls of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Shortly afterward, 19 Heaven Saint Masters flew from the walls to face off against the 14 individuals. Seeing that the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom actually had 19 Heaven Saint Masters, Jianchun had an astonished look in his eyes. According to his calculations, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom should have only 9 remaining. For there to come out with another 10, Jianchun felt that this was all very unexpected. So the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom has outside help. I wonder who would even try to take the Qinhuang Kingdom as their enemy? Jianchun's eyes revealed a cold glare as he smiled at the 10 newcomers. A single middle-aged man suited in armor cupped his hands together before speaking rather impassively. We are from the sect of Dragon and Tiger. As of today, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom belongs to our sect. We hope that the Qinhuang Kingdom will leave the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom alone. Chapter 493, Sect of Dragon and Tiger, 2. A single middle-aged man suited in armor cupped his hands together before speaking rather impassively. We are from the sect of Dragon and Tiger. As of today, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom belongs to our sect. We hope that the Qinhuang Kingdom will leave the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom alone. Jianchun's eyebrows furrowed together as his facial expression grew dark. Although he didn't know just what influence the sect of Dragon and Tiger had, seeing that they weren't afraid of the Qinhuang Kingdom made Jianchun understand that their strength wasn't ordinary. However, Jianchun had sworn to eliminate the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. For the sect of Dragon and Tiger to interfere and protect the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, Jianchun felt quite displeased. Even the 10 imperial advisors and the 3 generals had sour looks on their faces as their eyes emitted fierce glints. For your sect of Dragon and Tiger to interfere with the matters of our Qinhuang Kingdom, did you wish to make us your enemy? One of the imperial advisors spoke. He was one of the 5 that came along with the army. The middle-aged man truly didn't seem to fear the Qinhuang Kingdom at all. Smiling, he cupped his hands and spoke amicably. Sire's words are quite severe. Our sect of Dragon and Tiger doesn't wish to make the Qinhuang Kingdom our enemy, but the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom has already become a part of the sect of Dragon and Tiger to control. So by rights, we should interfere in this matter. With that, the man suddenly paused as if he realized the unyielding nature he displayed for the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was enough. His voice began to soften while he gave the Qinhuang Kingdom face. Just in case there was a possibility of offending the Qinhuang Kingdom still, the misunderstanding between the Jessen Kingdom and the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom is something our sect understands. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom were in the wrong, and as the representative of their kingdom, our sect of Dragon and Tiger wishes to apologize for the matter and compensate the king with a large sum of money in hopes of exchanging the banners of war with banners of silk and maintaining a friendly relationship. The man was clearly a high-ranking individual within the sect. Not only was he representing them, but he was able to dictate the fate of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom with a single phrase. Jianchun showed a cold smile. Although he knew that the sect of Dragon and Tiger didn't fear the Qinhuang Kingdom's strength, he didn't fear them either. I must eliminate the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Such a result is unchangeable. If your sect still wishes to go against us, then so be it. Jianchun spoke with an unyielding voice, allowing everyone to know that the destruction of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was an unchanging decision. The blue-robed middle-aged man looked startled for a moment before a chilled frost entered his eyes. It was as if Jian Chen's words caused him to feel slightly angry. The other individuals from the sect of Dragon and Tiger looked quite unwell as well. The words Jian Chen had just spoken seemed to have carried a threat to their ears. The war down below hadn't paused at all. Countless of magical crystal cannons continued to fire one after another toward the other camp, filling the air with dust. The Eastern Deity Sword's 500,000 soldiers, and the many other soldiers from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, had already engaged in a fierce battle. However, the war below didn't affect the Heaven Saint Masters up above. The blue-robed middle-aged man from the sect of Dragon and Sect had only glared at Jian Chen. "Sire, you must be the fourth master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian. Becoming a Heaven Saint Master at such an age is truly a precedent within the entire Tianyuan continent. But Lord Changyang Xiangtian, this is a negotiation between the sect of Dragon and Tiger and the Qinhuang Kingdom. You have no rights to partake in this. Or do you possibly represent the entire Qinhuang Kingdom?" When it came to Changyang Xiangtian, the man had been given his information by the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. However, what he knew was only limited to the intelligence from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Changyang Xiangtian is the imperial protector of our Qinhuang Kingdom. Could it be that an imperial protector of our Qinhuang Kingdom still isn't enough to represent our kingdom? Before Jian Chen could even speak, Xiao Tian replied furiously and glared dangerously at the middle-aged man. At Xiao Tian's words, both the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom and the sect of Dragon and Tiger blanched and looked to Jian Chen. Even Georgian, who had seen Jian Chen several times before, couldn't help but blurt out in shock. "What? He's the imperial protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom?" Georgian's face held complete and utter shock and disbelief. No one had expected the fourth master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian, would be the imperial protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom. Now that such information had been revealed, it easily explained why the Qinhuang Kingdom had expended so much effort to help the Jesson Kingdom. Jian Chen didn't react to having his identity revealed at all. Maintaining his regular expression, he looked to the men in front of him. "Do I have the right to represent the Qinhuang Kingdom now?" The middle-aged man from the sect of Dragon and Tiger suddenly found it hard to swallow, as he began to regret the words he spoke earlier. Never in his life would he have thought that this youth in front of him was actually the imperial protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom. Although the sect of Dragon and Tiger was one of the top families within the Tianyuan continent and didn't seem to fear the Qinhuang Kingdom, there was still a small difference in their strengths. The reason they dared go against the Qinhuang Kingdom now was due to multiple factors. First of all, the distance between here and the Qinhuang Kingdom was too far away. If they wished to go against the sect of Dragon and Tiger, they would need to expend a tremendous amount of money in order to do so. With the sect of Dragon and Tiger's strength, even the Qinhuang Kingdom would receive a definite setback. Secondly, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was now a part of the sect of Dragon and Tiger's territory. Ruling over it was a right, and having their sect interfere was only proper. It was a matter of territory. Thirdly, because it had been a relatively small matter that caused this matter to occur, the sect of Dragon and Tiger thought they could apologize and pay a sum of money to make a molehill out of a mountain and dissolve the matter completely. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom hadn't done any substantial damage to the Jesson Kingdom. Only a few soldiers had died and the Imperial Palace had also been damaged, but that was nothing too major. If anything, only their reputation had taken a hit. The fact that the Jesson Kingdom had the help of the 500,000 soldiers from the Qinhuang Kingdom come over to help was more than enough to recover any face they had lost, if not more. Besides, the sect of Dragon and Tiger was not an easy target to bully either. It was almost for certain that the Qinhuang Kingdom would not let such a trivial matter turn them into enemies. So the sect of Dragon and Tiger had decided to intervene on that chance. Like the Qinhuang Kingdom, the sect of Dragon and Tiger had a saint ruler on their side, but their numbers weren't as many as the Qinhuang Kingdom. However, now they had unexpectedly offended an imperial protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom. This was no longer a small matter, An imperial protector held a status that wasn't lower than the king in the Qinhuang kingdom. With a few imperial protectors, they could even remove the current ruling king. The situation was starting to grow worse. The sect of Dragon and Tiger watched the small matter in front of them grow bigger and bigger. It wouldn't be long before both powers would end up clashing against each other. The middle-aged man cupped his hands toward Jian Chun in an apologetic manner. This one is the assistant sect leader. Ba. This one truly apologizes for my previous slight toward the imperial protector. This one hopes that the imperial protector will let this go. The man's attitude toward Jianchen completely changed now that he had realized that Jianchen was the main problem to deal with. The conflict between the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom and the Jessen Kingdom would depend on this youth for resolution. No longer squandering time on the small matters, Jianchen spoke. Assistant sect leader Ba, my word still stands. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom will fall, but there is still time for your sect to back away. Jianchen had expended a large amount of time and energy to bring the army of the Qinhuang Kingdom over. There was no way for him to easily turn back now. Jianchen was not willing to turn away from his prize just yet. Ba's face fell slightly as he spoke. Imperial Protector, for a measly matter, you are willing to make our sect of Dragon and Tiger an enemy. Is that truly worth it? It is not that I am unwilling to let you go, but that you are doing your best to interfere with this matter. I will say it one more time. You still have time to back away from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Jianchen spoke one final warning to the sect of Dragon and Tiger. If the Imperial Protector insists on this, then we have nothing more to say here either. Ba spoke. Although the Qinhuang Kingdom was stronger than the sect of Dragon and Tiger, they did not fear the Qinhuang Kingdom. With the distance so far apart, the Qinhuang Kingdom would have to exert a lot of time, effort, and then a heavy price. After Ba spoke, the individuals from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom and sect of Dragon and Tiger prepared to fight. With the sect of Dragon and Tiger backing them up, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's fighters were fully motivated. Jianchen harumphed before waving his hand, forward. The 10 imperial advisors and the 3 generals immediately flew toward the sect of Dragon and Tiger and Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's fighters. As the core members of the Qinhuang Kingdom, they were well aware of their own kingdom's strength, so they didn't think of the sect of Dragon and Tiger to be of any major importance. Whether it was in terms of Heaven Saint Masters or Saint Rulers, the Qinhuang Kingdom owned far more than the other side. Even in subsidiary kingdoms, the Qinhuang Kingdom possessed even more that added to their strength. Imperial Protector, please allow I, Ba, to experience your masterstroke then. The assistant leader had finally thrown caution to the wind. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was of major importance to them, since it would further increase their power. Thus, they needed to protect the kingdom. Furthermore, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was something the sect of Dragon and Tiger would drool at. They had tried to negotiate with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom many times in the past to gain their support, but all their attempts had ended in failure. Now that the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's king finally agreed to their negotiations, they would not relinquish their hold so fast. Even if it meant offending the Qinhuang Kingdom, it would not be too bad of a trade-off. Seeing Ba come toward him, Jianchen didn't feel any fear. Instead, he felt the urge of battle surge up from within. Chapter 494. Sect of Dragon and Tiger 3. Ba had only looked like he was a 40-year-old man, but in truth, his real age was way past 200 years old. He was a 5th cycle Heaven Saint Master, because of his talents with cultivation, combined with his status as the assistant sect leader and mastery of a terrifyingly strong Heaven tier battle skill. His battle strength was no weaker than Xiao Tian. While Jianchen's age was generally far beneath what Ba would consider to be taken seriously, Georgian had more or less explained Jianchen's strength to him, so he didn't dare underestimate him now. Straight from the get-go, the man revealed his full strength. Materializing a saber that seemed capable of cleaving a mountain, he slashed it toward Jianchen with an earth attribute to the blade and an ear-piercing sound. With a single thought, several thousand arm-thick crossbow bolts began to float high into the air. An azure and violet glow began to shine around the crossbow bolts, before shooting at Hu Ba with lightning-quick speed. The display of power was shocking, and the spectacle was nearly majestic in sight. With crossbow bolt after crossbow bolt zooming through the sky one after another, a single continuous ear-piercing whistle could be heard. Seeing the innumerable amount of steel crossbow bolts fly straight for him with an azure and violet glow, Hu Ba instantly thought back to what Georgian had told him. As his face fell, he brought his saber, which was originally about to chop into Jian Chen, back so that it could slash downward instead. With a brandish of the saber, a single bright glow of yellow light, 5 meters tall, materialized and struck against the crossbow bolts with the sounds of thunder. Hu Ba's strike had been even stronger than what one initially had thought. The moment the storm of crossbow bolts made contact with it, the crossbow bolts let out crisp splitting sounds before many of them were split in half by the light. When a fifth cycle Heaven Saint Master went all out, just how could anyone belittle their might? Despite Hu Ba's strike being unbelievably strong, the power and light eventually faded away. After breaking apart several hundred steel crossbow bolts, the light disappeared into thin air, while the remaining crossbow bolts continued on without any hindrances to where Hu Ba was. Hu Ba displayed a serious look of concentration on his face. Just how do these regular steel crossbow bolts have such a strength under his control? An attack from those is enough to overwhelm the protective chi of a Heaven Saint Master. But it is still far from being a threat to me. Armor of the Earth God. A surge of earth-attributed light began to explode from within Hu Ba's body. It instantly covered the surface of his body in a golden shell, with an equally golden light radiating from it. The earth-attributed Saint Force was the most defensive attribute out of the 6, and was sometimes referred to being the supreme defense. With Hu Ba being a 5th cycle Heaven Saint Master, his defensive strength would be incredibly stronger after it wrapped his entire body. It was more than enough to block several strikes from a Heaven Saint Master without breaking, and with Hu Ba using a supplementary Earth Tier battle skill, the Armor of the Earth God, his defense was even stronger. The Armor of the Earth God was a defensive type of skill that only an individual with an Earth-attributed Saint Force could use. Its protective ability was incredibly strong, and even a Heaven Saint Master would find it difficult to harm the wielder once it was on. If a Heaven Saint Master were to use an Earth Tier battle skill, they would possibly be able to break through the surface of the armor with some difficulty. However, if they wished to harm Hu Ba, who was currently wearing the Armor of the Earth God, a Heaven Tier battle skill would be required. With the Armor of the Earth God, Hu Ba no longer paid heed to the crossbow bolts down below. Only the sounds of the crossbow bolts pelting across his body could be heard. But even with the assistance of the azure and violet glow, the crossbow bolts were incapable of damaging him. Despite this, the force of the crossbow bolts continued to force Hu Ba to and from in the air. Ha! Hu Ba cried out angrily. The saber in his hand shot out another 3-meter-long blade of light, leaving behind mirror images of the blade as it traveled. The blade of light cut down the crossbow bolts around Hu Ba before he charged straight for Jian Chen. Go! At this moment, the remaining steel crossbow bolts had already formed 3 giant longswords right by Jian Chen's side. With a single command, the 3 floating swords of crossbow bolts immediately came shooting straight for Hu Ba. Insignificant worm, to death with you! Hu Ba shouted. The saber in his hand pulsated with another blade of Saint Force, as it made contact with the 3 blades coming at him. Countless crossbow bolts shattered when 2 attacks touched. Many crossbow bolts were sent flying everywhere as a result. The very instant that Hu Ba had dispersed the 3 blades, he suddenly grew serious when he realized Jian Chen had already approached his front. In his originally empty hand, a fierce and rich glow of azure and violet light could be seen. Could that be the mysterious power that can break a saint weapon Georgian told me about? Hu Ba suddenly grew suspicious. If he were up against a power that could damage a saint weapon, even he had to be cautious. Jian Chen was using the origin energy of the azure and violet sword spirits as a replacement for his light wind sword. He stabbed toward Hu Ba as if holding a sword. Knowing the terror of the origin energy, Hu Ba simply did not wish to go against it, and hurriedly withdrew. With a loud shout at the same time, Another 10-meter-long blade of light came forth from his saint weapon. With a power that seemed capable of bisecting an entire mountain, Jianchen could faintly feel the faint image of a mountain right behind the strike, along with an oppressing feeling. Earth Tier Battle Skill. Feeling the pressure beginning to mount up on his body, Jianchen couldn't help but smirk in disdain. Unless he was going up against a Heaven Tier Battle Skill, anything else, even an Earth Tier Battle Skill, would not pose a threat to him at all. Controlling the origin energy of the sword spirits, Jianchen took the initiative to defend himself against Hu Ba's Earth Tier Battle Skill. Without hesitation, he chased Hu Ba down and stabbed forward one stroke after another, as if he were still using his light wind sword. Hu Ba was afraid of coming into contact with the origin energy. Dodging as best as he could, Hu Ba would sometimes lash out with the Earth Tier Battle Skill, but they were no use against Jianchen. Not too long after, his heart began to pulsate with fury. I'll see for myself if the energy Georgian spoke of is that strong. We'll see if it can easily destroy the saint weapon of a Heaven Saint Master. Chapter 495. Destruction of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, 1. Although Hu Ba knew from Georgian that he should not make contact with the azure and violet glow, he wanted to give it a try nonetheless. He wanted to see just how strong the oddity that the azure and violet colors were. With an explosive shout, Hu Ba changed to a posture where he held his saber in both hands. The veins in his arms bulged as his saint force rippled endlessly through them into his saber. Imbued with the saint force, the saber began to glow brighter and brighter, as the earthen glow gradually transformed into a golden glow of light. The dazzling golden light it was giving off was immeasurably bright, as if it was the stare of a god. In midair, it was like the shining sun that made it hard for anyone to keep their eyes open. The light in Hu Ba's eyes became intensely strong as he locked onto Jianchen's figure. Then, with a low voice that barked out one word after another, he shouted, "Heaven Tier Battle Skill, Sun-Devouring Golden Spark." At his words, an overwhelming amount of pressure suddenly came into being, as if a giant mountain had suddenly started to press down onto Jianchen's body. Jianchen's figure wavered in midair for a moment as the pressure locked onto him. There was finally a serious expression on Jianchen's face. An Earth Tier Battle Skill was something he could ignore, but a Heaven Tier Battle Skill was something that even he had to pay close attention to. In the past, the Heaven Tier Battle Skill that the Patriarch of the Yangji sect had used had posed a threat to him. For Hu Ba, who was even stronger than the Patriarch, the amount of power would definitely be even stronger. An Earth Tier Battle Skill was only a single tier away from a Heaven Tier Battle Skill, but the difference in strength was between the Earth and the heavens themselves. There was no room for discussion, otherwise, they would not use the words Earth and Heaven to distinguish between the two battle skill tiers. Two resplendent glows of light suddenly exploded from Jianchen's eyes. In the next moment, an azure and a violet glow appeared in them, causing his eyes to be overtaken by the two colors. They didn't even resemble eyes anymore. But with the weirdness of them, it would not be wrong to say he looked like a monster. Instead, it would be more apt to say he looked like a demon. Suddenly in the battlefield below, all of the crossbow bolts that hadn't floated into the air earlier started to fly into the air. Even the crossbow bolts that were being prepared to fire began to feel an invisible energy pull at them. One by one, they shot into the air before finally coming to a stop around Jianchen's body. Every single crossbow bolt exuded the azure and violet sword qi, but the intensity of the qi was even stronger than before. In an instant, Jianchen's figure was completely surrounded by the crossbow bolts. With him situated in the center of it all, Jianchen seemed as if he was a deity that could control everything with a might that made him inviolable. With thousands and thousands of crossbow bolts floating in the air without moving, the sight was extremely strange. Shocked, all of the soldiers who had been fighting intensely earlier couldn't help but lift their heads with stunned expressions. A long story in words, but this series of actions had only taken a single thought worth of time. By now, Hu Ba's Heaven Tier Battle Skill had already finished charging. Grasping his saber with both hands, he charged toward Jianchen with a fierce glow of golden light before doing what seemed to be an ordinary slash. While this blade seemed rather ordinary, like an ordinary farmer brandishing a wood chopper, one of the mysteries of the world was contained within the strike. Jianchen couldn't help but feel an intense desire to evade the blow, but because of the potential of the blade to strike at any place, Jianchen had nowhere to run. The only path available to him now was to defend. Jianchen's hands slowly moved into action, causing tens of thousands of crossbow bolts to fly around him. Under Jianchen's powerful control of thought, they instantly formed a single 30-meter-long steel sword that radiated azure and violet sword chi before flying toward his enemy. Even after shooting the giant sword, Jianchen didn't stop there. Clutching at the air, 2 more blades of fire materialized. Jetting off after the steel sword with a trailing path of fire, the fire began to disperse around the area and increased the overall temperature. Although this method wouldn't fully prevent the heaven-tier battle skill, it could at the very least diminish its power and take some of the load from Jianchen's shoulder. Jianchen's strike soon clashed with Hu Ba's saber. No one thought that in the midst of the explosion, the steel crossbow bolt made sword wouldn't be able to go against Hu Ba's strike, and was split in 2 as a result. The fire swords that came after it were dispersed as well before fading into the world without a trace. After overwhelming Jianchen's strike, Hu Ba's heaven-tier battle skill had diminished in strength. Although it was no longer at its max potential, the power was still terrifying. Jianchen's right hand flowed with the origin energy before forming a 3-meter-long beam. Flying up, he lashed out against the heaven-tier battle skill. Boom! Upon contact, another explosion could be heard as the air seemed to tremble and quake unceasingly. Jianchen and Hu Ba's figures had long since been covered by the explosion of energy. Jianchen and Hu Ba didn't affect the battle of the other individuals. Soon afterward, the sounds of explosions could be heard one after another not too far away. The explosions of energy were released in a terrifying wave that instantly blew away all the nearby clouds. Several of the imperial advisors of the Qinhuang kingdom began to use their heaven-tier battle skill, heavily injuring their enemies and causing several to fall to the earth. 2 of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom experts had even been killed by one of the heaven-tier battle skills. With about 20 Heaven Saint Masters, fighting about 1,000 meters high in the sky above the soldiers, the waves of energy from their battle were enough to cause the soldiers below to be subject to heavy losses. Soon, the energy waves began to dissipate, allowing Jianchen and Hu Ba's figure to slowly come back into everyone's view. The 2 men were floating 50 meters away from each other, with pale faces and ragged clothes. Neither of the 2 had the elegant poise from earlier with their clothes showing tears in it. There was a single bloody cut on Jianchen's chest that went down to his abdomen and soaked his robes in blood in a clear sign of injury. However, the origin energy of the azure and violet sword chi was still glowing strong and pure as before. Hu Ba was a 5th cycle Heaven Saint Master who could use a heaven-tier battle skill. So avoiding an injury wasn't within Jianchen's ability, but it was a light wound, nothing serious. Up against Jianchen, Hu Ba's saber in his right hand began to grow dim as it gradually lost its original luster. On the blade, 2 jagged chips could be seen quite clearly. PCH. Suddenly, Hu Ba let out a mouthful of blood while his face grew pale from the sudden loss. Originally when he fought against Jianchen, he hadn't been injured, but when his saint weapon and the origin energy of the azure and violet sword spirits clashed, his saint weapon had been like a piece of tofu. His saint weapon had easily been damaged by the origin energy, which caused damage to his internal organs. Hu Ba's face looked grim as he stared at the jagged chip on his saber. With startled eyes, he slowly looked to the origin energy in Jianchen's hand. Would you tell me just what sort of energy that is for it to be so strong? After truly experiencing the strength of the origin energy for himself, Hu Ba was now afraid of it. This energy was truly the bane of all strong individuals. No comment, Jianchen replied. Snorting, Hu Ba spoke. If not for that energy, you wouldn't even be an opponent for me. Jianchen gave a taunting look to Hu Ba. If I was your age, even without this energy, you wouldn't be an opponent for me either. Hearing Jianchen's words, Hu Ba was stunned for a moment before cursing himself on the inside. Unexpectedly, he had made the crass mistake of engaging in a battle of words with someone from the younger generation. Assistant Sect Leader Hu Ba, your strength may be above mine, but you are not an opponent for me. You cannot stop my mission to destroy the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Jianshan spoke impassively. Hu Ba answered coldly, Changyang Xiangtian. While it is true we cannot stop it, our sect of Dragon and Tiger will remember this. Although we are not as strong as the Qinhuang Kingdom, we are not that easy to bully either. The future is long, we shall wait and see. With those words thrown down, Hu Ba gave a command to everyone before turning around to fly away. Seeing their assistant sect leader retreat, the others from the sect gave up their fight and turned to retreat as well. In an instant, they disappeared beyond the horizon without a care for the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom experts that they left behind. When they had left, the 13 individuals of the Qinhuang Kingdom didn't stop them. The sect of Dragon and Tiger was a top-tier family with a strength that was undeniably strong. They had no desire to create a deadlock with the sect of Dragon and Tiger and create an enemy for the Qinhuang Kingdom. With the sect of Dragon and Tiger retreating, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was reduced to a balloon without air. In a single moment, they had lost their fighting spirit. The Qinhuang Kingdom was stronger than them, so much so that they could fight them 2-1 with ease. Even with less people, they were easily capable of fighting them on equal grounds. With the incoming pressure on them now, not only would they lose if they continued to fight, but they wouldn't even have the ability to flee. Stop no more. We surrender. The fourth cycle Heaven Saint Master with red hair was the first to surrender. He was the patriarch of a sect within the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Although he had a nice relationship with the kingdom, it was not so much that he would throw his life away for it. Knowing that the chance to win had been lost, he had given up first. Chapter 496. Destruction of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, 2. The sect of Dragon and Tiger was the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's final line of defense. With their retreat, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom no longer had the ability to defend themselves against the Qinhuang Kingdom. The other Heaven Saint Masters from the kingdom had no desire to fight and throw away their lives. They had been pulled into this by the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, while not having any personal grievances with the Jessin Kingdom. They had done nothing wrong, so they surrendered without a second thought. The sect of Dragon and Tiger were the pillars of the Heaven Saint Masters of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, but the Heaven Saint Masters were the pillars of support for the ordinary soldiers fighting down below. So when the Heaven Saint Masters were all captured, the soldiers lost their fighting spirit and began to surrender. Finding a thick iron chain, Jianshan had Xiao Tian and the others bind up the Heaven Saint Masters. Although it wouldn't actually serve to do so, in the eyes of the regular soldiers down below, the reality was quite different. At this treatment from the Qinhuang Kingdom, the individuals from the Heaven Saint Masters were silently fuming in anger, but they could only swallow their anger and bear the shame. Although this was a loss of face right in front of all these soldiers, if it meant that their lives were saved, what point did face serve? Besides, being captured by the hands of the Qinhuang Kingdom's imperial advisors wasn't too grievous. Xiao Tian, you 10 will stay here and look over them. If anyone tries to rebel, or has any other ideas, then kill them. Jianshan commanded to the 10 imperial advisors. Yes, Imperial Protector. Xiao Tian replied before bringing the captured Heaven Saint Masters down to the walls of the city. Jianshan looked to Qin Wuming and the other two. Qin Wuming, Qin Wutian, Qin Wujian, have 100,000 of the Eastern deity swords follow me to surround the Imperial Palace. Unknowingly, Jianshan's voice had a dignified tone to it. Perhaps because he had been commanding people for some time now, Jianshan was now nurturing this type of power within himself. Yes. Qin Wuming immediately began to rally some soldiers. Jianshan slowly descended to the ground before landing right beside the king of the Jessin Kingdom and the others. Xiang'er, how is the situation up front? How did the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom suddenly bring out so many experts? Changyangba was the first to blurt out. He was extremely worried about the battle ahead, but because he was a far distance away, He wasn't able to see the situation too clearly. "Father, all is right. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom found help with several other Heaven Saint Masters, but they have retreated. Right now, all of the experts of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom have surrendered and are now our captives." Jian Chen commanded out loud, so that everyone from the Eastern deity swords could hear. Yes, the 10,000 soldiers all roared to the heavens before moving to surround the palace in a flash. Jian Chen and the others rode into the palace at a leisurely rate on their magical beast mounts. Right behind them was a group of 100 elite soldiers. Each one was an Earth Saint Master. At this moment within the interior of the palace, the king sat by himself with a decadent look on his dragon throne. His eyes were vacant as he stared around the palace without any spirit to them. He had already received a report about the result of the war. Originally, he had thought he could depend on the power of the sect of Dragon and Tiger to escape without mishap. With the sect of Dragon and Tiger being one of the strongest sects on the Tianyuan continent, with a power that wasn't too beneath the Qinhuang Kingdom, he thought that even the Qinhuang Kingdom would fear confrontation with them. He didn't think that the Jessin and Qinhuang Kingdom would be so intent on destroying his Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Not only did they not hesitate to back away from the sect of Dragon and Tiger, they had even swore an oath to trample over the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Looking around the empty palace halls, the king had a sorrowful feeling in his heart. He knew that after this event, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom would be forever committed to being history never to return. Ai, how unexpected. Truly unexpected. For a simple mistake in the past, the sweat and blood generations and generations have put into founding this country was ruined. The king sighed helplessly. At this moment, the palace eunuch came running into the halls in a hurry. Frantically he spoke. "Your Majesty, the eldest prince, second prince, and third princess has successfully entered the secret passageway and escaped. There's not much time left. Your Majesty has to leave here now, or there won't be any time left." The king of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom shook his head without saying a word. The palace eunuch wasn't able to understand what the meaning was. "Your Majesty, there really is no time to spare. The army of the Qinhuang Kingdom has already entered the palace and will be here in a moment. Your Majesty, if we don't go now, it'll be too late. We must leave now. While the green hills last, there'll be wood to burn. As long as our lives are saved, then there will be a chance to make a comeback." The eunuch spoke in a panic. "No, I won't run." The king finally spoke. Pushing away the eunuch, he stood up from his throne and looked at the still empty palace halls. With a gloomy spirit he muttered, "If you wish to go, then go. This king won't go. This king will stay. This king will not go. This king won't leave this place. This king wants to stay. Your Majesty, don't speak so foolishly. There's no time, we must leave straight away. There is no time if we go later." The eunuch was panicked now and began to pull at the king's arm. "Get out!" The king exploded before swinging his arm to throw the eunuch away. "This king will not go. This king will be with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. When the kingdom lives, the people live. When the kingdom dies, the people die." The king began to grow more and more emotional. These words had been shouted out loud. Chapter 497, Destruction of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom 3. Your Majesty, while the green hills last, there'll be wood to burn. The highest priority is that your life is preserved. If the Jessin Kingdom captures you, there will be no way that they will let you live. The eunuch pleaded with a panicked expression as he listened to the sounds of hooves getting closer and closer. "If you want to go, then go. This king won't go. This king will die with the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom." The king spoke resolutely without fear, not caring if he lived or died. Even if he died, at the very least, he wouldn't be the king of a destroyed kingdom. "Ha ha ha, Your Royal Highness, this is quite unexpected. You truly are a man of steel and grit that anyone would admire." Suddenly, the loud sound of laughter could be heard as a large group of people came walking in with a 20-year-old youth leading them all. Seeing this large group enter the palace, The eunuch right next to the king instantly grew pale before muttering in dejection, "It's over, it's all over. There is no escape now." The eunuch's face was filled with despair, and although he was loyal to his king, he was afraid of death. The king of the heavenly eagle kingdom slowly sat back down on his dragon throne. Both arms rested on the golden armrests of his throne. His expression was grim, his eyes fierce, and his demeanor quite regal. Although soon he would be a king that died with his kingdom, in this current moment, he had regained his prestige and did not fear death. The king of the heavenly eagle kingdom stared down the incoming group. Jianchen was slowly leading forward. "I did not think that our move against the Jesson kingdom would somehow lead the Qinhuang kingdom to carry us into eternal damnation. If not for that previous affair, perhaps our heavenly eagle kingdom wouldn't have been reduced to such a state." Jianchen smirked. "You speak correctly. If not for the previous matter, then your heavenly eagle kingdom wouldn't be in the state it is today. However, there is no medicine for regret in this world. The time for regret is long over for you. This is the final conclusion. Regret won't do anything to change it. Indeed, there is no medicine for regret, but even regretting now is useless." The king sighed before reclining back on his throne. "There is a question this king still doesn't understand. Would you mind enlightening this king of it?" "Speak then. Seeing you decline to such a state, I could answer a few of your questions." Jianchen replied. Back when this king sent several experts to the Jesson kingdom and caused a disturbance, the Jesson kingdom did not take on any heavy losses. On the contrary, it was our experts that ate up the losses. All in all, the ones who ended up on the losing end was our heavenly eagle kingdom. For such a trifling matter like this, is your Jesson kingdom truly willing to waste the tremendous strength of the Qinhuang kingdom to destroy our heavenly eagle kingdom? The king of the heavenly eagle kingdom was truly very curious about this matter. Trifling matter? Your 10 heaven saint masters caused my Changyang clan to take on severe damages when they fought overhead. The entire compound had been reduced to rubble, and plenty of people from my clan had been badly injured. If not for the 5 imperial advisors from the Qinhuang kingdom residing there at the time, my Changyang clan wouldn't have even survived the calamity that befell them. Even the king of our Jesson kingdom was kidnapped by you. Yet you still consider this a trifling matter? Jianchen spoke seriously. The king of the heavenly eagle kingdom looked to Jianchen. "If my guess is correct, you must be the 4th master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian." "Correct, I am he," Jianchen replied proudly. The king swept his eyes to the people behind Jianchen. "The sudden close friendship between the Jesson and Qinhuang kingdom had to be your doing, I presume. This king wishes to know, just what relationship is there between you and the Qinhuang kingdom? The Qinhuang kingdom wouldn't so easily expend such a large amount of manpower across countless of kilometers to aid the Jesson kingdom. The amount of things you wish to know is quite a lot." Jianchen laughed. "If you really wish to know, I'll satisfy your curiosity then." Jianchen suddenly stopped speaking for a moment before continuing. "I presume you know that the Qinhuang kingdom dispatched several of their experts to help the Jesson kingdom push back the 4-kingdom alliance, and that it was due to the desire of an imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom?" Nodding, the king replied, "Correct, this king was told of such a thing. However, the information Prime Minister Che brought back overruled that." "Then let me tell you quite clearly, that was a true matter. That imperial protector is me, Changyang Xiangtian." Jianchen revealed calmly. Despite his tone of voice, the body of the king suddenly started to tremble. His face couldn't help but reveal disbelief, and he did not say anything for a very long time. The king of the heavenly eagle kingdom sat on his dragon throne with both arms trembling on their armrest. For a long time he was speechless, but then he sighed. "How unexpected. I did not think that the person I had offended would actually be the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom. It is no wonder the Qinhuang kingdom was that willing to gather up so many soldiers." Now knowing that Jianchen was the Qinhuang kingdom's imperial protector, the king of the heavenly eagle kingdom felt no more confusion in his heart. Looking at the whole picture now, he fully understood Jianchen's identity. Only a status as illustrious as the imperial protector would be able to cause the Qinhuang kingdom to send a large army, such great distance, to help the Jessen kingdom. If you wish to blame someone, blame yourself for disturbing my Changyang clan. For that reason, even the sect of Dragon and Tiger wouldn't change a thing despite their interference today. King of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, today, you now understand the full story. Jianshan spoke with an awe-inspiring tone to his voice. AI. The king sighed. In this instant, he seemed to have aged several years, and his spirit seemed to grow depressed. Powerlessly, the king of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom nodded his head. This king understands. Everything now makes sense. Making an enemy with the Jessen kingdom was truly a mistake. Now that this king is here, whether you wish to kill or torture me, do as you will. Jianshan didn't waste any more words and waved his hand. Capture him and bring him out. Immediately, 2 elite soldiers from the Eastern deity sword came forward to grab hold of the king's arms and led him out. After the king was led out, a single sword of fire materialized in Jianshan's hand. With a bright gleaming arc of fire, the sword smashed apart the dragon throne in the palace. With the king of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom captured, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was already halfway destroyed. Qin Wuming, have the Eastern deity sword start a blanket sweep of the entire palace. Capture all members of the palace, and don't let them escape. Do not cause unnecessary trouble with the maids and servants. Jianshan commanded. Yes. Qin Wuming obeyed, and walked away to make the orders. Jianshan looked underneath the flooring with a smile of disdain. His right foot gently stepped on the ground, causing the entire palace to shudder, as if suffering from an earthquake, but the tremors soon disappeared. Several kilometers away, in a 10-meter-tall passageway, a large group of the royals of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom and their guards were frantically escaping down the path. There were about 1,000 people in total rushing through the quiet but cramped passageway. Occasionally, a sound could be heard from some of them. Some of these people were the concubines of the king and the members of the entire royal family. Hurry up, people in front, go faster. Otherwise, the invaders will catch up to us. Everyone move faster. If the invaders catch up to us, it'll all be over. Wait for everyone to be safe before we slow down. Run faster. Aya, you stepped on me, you stepped on me. A large group of people were huffing and puffing as they charged down the dark path in an attempt to escape. The passageway wasn't very smooth, so sometimes someone would step on an uneven part of the ground and tumble to the ground before being stepped on by the people behind them. Painful screams would escape from their mouths, especially from the daintier women. With everyone looking out for their own life, no one had the time or luxury to look after someone else. Just at that moment, a rumbling sound could be heard from above, as the entire passageway began to shake. Afterward, a terrified shout could be heard from up front. No, the passageway has collapsed, the front path has been blocked. It's over. With the passageway caved in, we don't have any way to escape. What, the passageway caved in? How could that be? This entire path was reinforced, just how could it cave in so easily? Within the giant halls of the palace, Jianshan walked up to the loyal eunuch and spoke. Who are you? Seeing Jianshan turn his attention to himself, the eunuch let out a fearful sound before kneeling on the ground, trembling in fear. This slaw slave is the king's eunuch of meals. I am in charge of the king's everyday meals. Tell me where the second prince has escaped off to. Jianshan spoke calmly and warmly, but there was an overwhelming amount of pressure delivered to the eunuch as well. The slave does not know. The eunuch was a man who feared death, so his entire body refused to stop shaking. Jianshan's eyes flashed dangerously. What a truly loyal person. But even if you don't tell me, it'll take an hour for me to find him. I'll give you one chance to live. If you don't choose your words carefully, do not blame me for being merciless. Changyang Xiantian, they most likely escaped in secret already. We just need to find traces of a secret passageway. Princess Yu suddenly spoke. Jianshan shook his head. I know what passageway they escaped into, but the second prince isn't in it. There isn't a trace of the second prince in the palace either. How do you know he isn't in the passageway? The princess asked with curiosity. She had been right by Jian Chen's side ever since they entered the imperial palace. She had not seen anyone ever come report to Jian Chen. So the fact that Jian Chen knew that the second prince wasn't escaping in the secret passageways was a completely mystery to her. Jian Chen smiled. I naturally have my own methods. Turning around, Jian Chen looked once more to the eunuch in front of him. Now will you tell me or not? Seeing the eunuch stay quiet, Jian Chen revealed a cold smile. It doesn't matter if you speak. I'll find the second prince myself with some effort. Soldier, take him away to be executed. I'll speak. As soon as Jian Chen finished speaking, the cowardly eunuch's final line of defense crumbled away. Chapter 498. Destruction of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom 4. You'd best not lie to me. Jian Chen's eyes revealed an intimidating light as he glared at the eunuch. The eunuch's body trembled in his spot on the floor. His eyes revealed a terrified expression as he spoke. This slave wouldn't dare. This slave doesn't dare. Now then, where did the second prince run off to? Jian Chen was convinced that the second prince had exaggerated the story to the king of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom to make it sound more serious. Since his Changyang clan had been a victim to calamity because of the second prince, Jian Chen definitely wouldn't let him go. Jian Chen already had a few problems with the second prince at the Jesson Kingdom's palace. The second prince, he left the palace 2 days ago. This servant heard from the king that the second prince may have been sent to the Sunset Kingdom. The eunuch trembled with fear as he replied to Jian Chen. What? The second prince has already left the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom? Jian Chen's eyebrows narrowed together. If the second prince had truly left the kingdom 2 days ago, then finding him would become more difficult than he initially thought. Yes. This servant heard this from the king's mouth. It shouldn't be wrong. The eunuch explained, with his eyebrows still furrowed together in thought. Jian Chen had 2 soldiers from the eastern deity. Swords take the eunuch away. The second prince is quite quick-witted. I didn't think he would run away. Jian Chen, what will you do now? Ming Dong asked. For him, there was only hatred in his heart for the second prince. I won't let him get away, but there's no need to rush. Wait until we ascertain the second prince's whereabouts. We will think of the proper countermeasure then. Right now, we should stay here for a while. Those who were trying to escape in the secret passageway will be soon brought here. Jian Chen answered. Right now, the entire palace of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was in turmoil. The king had already been captured, and the palace was seized, but there were still countless imperial guards in there. Although a good portion of the imperial guards had already surrendered, there were still a few loyal imperial guards that fought to their deaths in an attempt to resist. Battling against the eastern deity swords, the battles could be heard throughout the palace. How could these imperial guards be a match for the elite squadron of the Qinhuang Kingdom? Although the imperial guards were all at the Earth Saint Master level, the eastern deity swords were all comprised of the same level as they, and there were even more of them than the imperial guards. Despite the fierce resistance the imperial guards put up, they were still powerless, and were beaten into submission by the eastern deity swords. The imperial guards didn't last for more than an hour before they were all defeated. Any of the last remaining resistance was soon weeded out with the eastern deity swords only sustaining minor injuries. After all of the resistance had been rooted out, the eastern deity swords began to do a sweep across the palace. However, just like Jian Chen had commanded, they had captured most of the royal members of the kingdom and did not make things difficult for the maids and servants. In this blanket sweep, the entire palace had its hidden cellars revealed and searched, revealing a good amount of nobles squirreled away. There was even a secret passageway where a group of eastern deity swords were sent in to investigate. With all of them being Earth Saint Masters, they cautiously began to walk deep into the passageway. In no time at all, they arrived at the end of the passageway, where they managed to capture over 1,000 people who were stuck due to the passageway caving in front of them. Gathered in front of the palace, the prisoners were now awaiting the verdict of the imperial protector. Within the center of the palace of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom were about 2,000 members of the royal family, kneeling down in the open space. There were males and females, young and old, but they were all terrified to the point where their bodies trembled with fear. Everyone was afraid for their own lives and feared that they would die here. Such a fear like that caused many to start to cry. That was because every noble and official of a dead kingdom would always be killed by the enemy without mercy on the Tianyuan continent. Even the imperial concubines and children were no exceptions. Only a small minority were allowed to live. That was the method of eliminating the roots to destroy the weed. Surrounding the royal family of the kingdom, several hundred white-armored soldiers stood like stone statues. Forming a circular ring, they imprisoned the 2,000 royal members within. Jianchen looked expressionlessly at the dense crowd of people who were kneeling on the ground. Now I will ask everyone a series of questions. The first one to answer, I will spare and let go. Hearing this, everyone's eyes began to light up with hope. Their originally deathly still hearts began to rekindle with the flames of desire to live. Although Jianchen looked extremely young, and they had no idea who he was, they weren't idiots. Their eyes were bright and sharp. When they saw the three generals standing behind Jianchen, they knew the youth was their leader. His words were definitely worth their weight in gold. In front of so many people, just who would play a joke on a group of prisoners? How many princes does the king of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom have? Jianchen gave out his first question. Three. There's three. As soon as Jianchen asked his question, plenty of people frantically began to answer in a cacophony of sound. The answers were unanimous. With the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom at its end, they would rather save their own lives and throw away their loyalty to the kingdom to the farthest reaches of the earth. Seeing the result exceed his expectations by a tremendous amount, Jianchen couldn't help but crack a satisfied smile. Very good. Everyone is very cooperative. If things continue on like this, then I will be very happy and will allow everyone to go free. My lord, is that true? If we answer everything, will you really let all of us go? Someone from the crowd asked, trying to hide the hope in his voice. Jianchen displayed a warm expression on his face. However, in the eyes of the nobles of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, his smile was the smile of a demon. Jianchen pointed to the group of people behind him. Everyone can see this, right? If these people are not the nobles of the Jesson Kingdom, they are the generals of the Qinhuang Kingdom. In front of so many people, how would I make a promise that I would not comply with? Jianchen's words were like a tranquilizer for their fears. The authority of the nobles of the Jesson Kingdom wasn't something they could have faith in so easily. But the generals of the Qinhuang Kingdom were different. Each of them were even higher in military strength than the king of the Jesson Kingdom. Even their authority was on a higher level than the king. Right now, with even the generals of the Qinhuang Kingdom standing behind the youth, it was very obvious that this youth's status in the Qinhuang Kingdom was even higher than theirs. Continuing to speak, Jianchen said, "Naturally, there will be a small group of people that will have to remain behind." The meaning of Jianchen's instantly made each of the 2,000 captives think to the immediate family of the king of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. By chance, are any of the princes still here? Jianchen asked. Yes, there is. He's the eldest prince. This is the third prince. As soon as Jianchen finished asking, many people began to point out the third and eldest prince, causing the faces of the two princes to drain into a pale color. Bring them forth, Jianchen commanded. Straight away, several silver-armored soldiers wrestled the two figures the group had pointed out and brought them to Jianchen. Jianchen's eyes measured up the two princes in front of him. In an attempt to hide their identities, they had worn the clothes of a person of lower rank with countless of smudges on them. Their hair was disheveled, making them seem more like the beggars on the streets rather than princes. Between the two, one youth looked to be nearing his 30s while the other was about 20 years old, an age that wasn't too far away from Jianchen. Trembling in fright before Jianchen, neither of the two princes dared stare at Jianchen. Are you or are you not the third and eldest prince? Jianchen asked. Yes. Both princes were men who were afraid of death and greedy for life instead of men who were proud and unyielding. Up against Jianchen, They could only answer as they quaked in fear. "Tell me, where is the second prince?" Jianchen demanded. "He went to the Sunset Kingdom." The eldest prince didn't hesitate to reveal the whereabouts of the second prince. Although he and the second prince were bound together by blood, they were not on the best of terms. There had been many secret clashes between them, so the eldest prince was eager to see the second prince die. Jianchen narrowed his eyes. "What is the second prince doing in the Sunset Kingdom?" I don't know. Something like this. I'm afraid only my father would know the answer. If you wish to know, then you must ask him." The eldest prince swallowed as he pushed the burden onto the king. Contemplating for a moment, Jianchen spoke. "Take these two princes and investigate them thoroughly. As for this group, look through their space belts and space rings before letting them go." As the two princes were taken away, the 2,000 remaining members were thoroughly searched. As a kingdom that was far wealthier than the Jessen Kingdom, the nobles of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had to have a terrifying sum of wealth if combined together. Jianchen hadn't bothered to kill them, and instead gave the 2,000 people a way of escape. Having only confiscated a good portion of their wealth, and letting them have more than enough to survive, Jianchen held up his promise to let them all live and leave. Now that the matter with the 2,000 people was over, Jianchen turned to the three generals. "Qin Wutian, have a group of people chase after the second prince in the Sunset Kingdom. You must capture him." The second prince could be said to be the cause for this entire matter, so there was no way Jianchen would let him go so easily. "Yes, I will have some men go after him straight away," Qin Wutian answered before leaving to dispatch a division of 100 elite soldiers toward the Sunset Kingdom. At that moment, a single silver-armored soldier came before Jianchen and knelt down. "A report for the honored Imperial Protector. We have discovered the treasury of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom." Jianchen's eyes lit up before waving his hand. "Lead the way." Chapter 499. Seeing the White Stone again 1. Along with the remaining generals, Jianchen and the soldiers swiftly walked through the palace into the deepest parts of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The treasury of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was located within the depths of the palace. Measured at a height of 3 stories, the treasury was built from a metal that was refined 100 times over, so that it was incredibly durable. The gates to the treasury had clear indicators of having gone through a battle. There were corpses strewn about everywhere, and the entire area was filled with blood. If this was in any ordinary time, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom would have a Heaven Saint Master and 500 of their elite soldiers protecting the treasury. But with the entire palace already seized by the Eastern deity swords, and all of the Heaven Saint Masters essentially either dead or captured, there were no experts left. The elite soldiers of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom were killed, and now the Eastern deity swords took their place protecting it. "We pay our respects to the Imperial Protector." At Jianchen's approach, the soldiers guarding the treasury immediately knelt down to the ground and cried out a greeting. "No need to be so polite, you all may rise." Jianchen spoke calmly while looking ahead. Although the treasury was a large building, the doors to it were quite small. 2 men standing shoulder to shoulder would find it quite difficult to enter, and at this moment, the gates were shut tight, having not yet been forced open. "Honored Imperial Protector, we went to notify you straight away after we discovered the treasury. However, even after having all our soldiers search the area, we couldn't find the key." An Earth Saint Master reported quietly. "And you've done well." Jianchen nodded his head in approval. Walking up to the gates, Jianchen's palm struck the meter-thick metallic walls. The metal was cold to the touch and vibrated with a heavy resonance. "I did not think that this door would be constructed from tungsten alloys. If thick enough, it is able to withstand even the strike of a Heaven Saint Master with no problem." Jianchen spoke with some surprise. Tungsten alloy was a very bizarre metal, and was considered to be one of the sturdiest materials on the continent. It possessed a strange ability to be able to distribute the force applied to it into something manageable. If one wished to shatter tungsten alloys, then one would need to apply a force capable of shattering it in one strike. Tungsten alloys could not be destroyed piece by piece, so the defensive ability of the alloy was highly sought. If one wanted to break open the tungsten alloy, one needed a tremendous amount of strength. If the thickness of the tungsten alloy reached 50 kilograms, it would be able to withstand the strike of a first cycle Heaven Saint Master. With 250 kilograms, it would be able to withstand a third cycle Heaven Saint Master. If it was over 500 kilograms, even a sixth cycle Heaven Saint Master would find it difficult to destroy. The durability and the scarcity of the tungsten alloy made it an extremely precious and expensive item, worth almost its weight in currency. If there was a deposit of 50 kilograms worth of tungsten alloy, it would be worth 500 kilograms of purple coins. Despite the price being 10 times the weight, not every city used this as a standard. It appears that the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom is quite prosperous if they are able to build the doors to their treasury out of tungsten alloy. This large chunk should be around 250 kilograms at the very least. If I want to break it, I would need to exert myself by a decent amount. Qin Wuming muttered. With that, Qin Wuming walked up to the tungsten alloy door. Imperial Protector, please allow me to try and destroy this gate. Jianchen nodded his head before taking a few steps back to allow Qin Wuming. Not only was Qin Wuming the vice-general of the Eastern Deity Swords, he was also a Heaven Saint Master who reached the third cycle and possessed several battle skills. As long as the tungsten alloy door was less than 250 kilograms in weight, he would be able to break it. Qin Wuming made every nearby soldier move farther away before bringing the large amount of Saint force in his hand up to strike at the small door. Bang! A loud explosion rocked the entire palace as Qin Wuming's hand pressed against the tungsten alloy door. The entire treasury seemed to have begun to shake, and if not for the fact that the entire building was made of reinforced steel, the treasury would have came crashing down. Taking his palm off, Qin Wuming and the others could see that the tungsten alloy door was still standing nice and tall in front of them. It hadn't been broken, and Qin Wuming's palm didn't even leave a trace of it on the alloy. Seeing that his own palm was useless, Qin Wuming let out an icy grunt before taking out his saint weapon that blazed with a blue-colored saint force. With all his strength, Qin Wuming struck at the door. Using his saint weapon, Qin Wuming's strike was roughly 2 to 3 times stronger than his palm strike. With his current strike, even a large mountain could be cleaved in half by him. Bang! A fierce explosion could be heard as the whiplash of energy flooded the entire area before dissipating. The ground near the treasury started to fracture and split into crevices. Some of the soldiers of the Eastern Deity Swords were even forced back several steps. However, even after the tremors subsided and Qin Wuming had finished his strike with his saint weapon, the door had not been broken. Father, the door must be beyond 250 kilograms in weight. It could possibly be beyond 500 kilograms. We should go call for some of the others to help us break down this door, Qin Wujin mentioned. Qin Wuming put away his saint weapon in resignation. Sighing, he spoke. I didn't think that this tiny Heavenly Eagle Kingdom would have amassed such a large amount of tungsten alloy. It is truly surprising. If we really wish to break open this door, we'll need several more people to break it. No need for that, allow me to try. Jianchen came up from behind. I doubt such a small metal door would be able to block my path. Seeing how Qin Wuming was unable to break past the door, Jianchen decided to not hold back. Bringing forth the origin energy of the azure and violet sword spirits, Jianchen's right hand began to glow with the same azure and violet colors. Qin Wuming retreated without a sound. He knew that Jianchen's talent was nearly terrifying, but he hadn't ever been able to understand it. This time, he would take this chance to observe it for himself. Jianchen stood right in front of the tungsten alloy door. Without any superfluous movements, he stabbed directly onto the door with the origin energy of the sword spirits in his right hand. TZK. A metallic ring could be heard. Despite the tungsten alloy door being incredibly durable, the origin energy of the azure and violet sword spirits was able to stab deeply into the door, almost as if it was made of tofu. An azure and violet color. How curious, what type of powerful energy is that? Qin Wuming spoke in amazement at the origin energy in Jianchen's right hand. Qin Wujian Kafir. and Yiming all stared hard at the origin energy in Jian Chen's right hand as well. Each one continued to guess in curiosity at what the energy was. All three of them were extremely curious. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.